that Russia and Japan had a war.
They did.
For why?
Did you know that China and Japan had a war?
China and Japan, I knew, yes, because Japan at one point had colonized China. And
Japan tended to be a colonizing imperial nation. And that's why that war in Russia occurred.
Yeah.
They had also tried to spread their tentacles, kidogo.
Hey, these guys were everywhere, colonizing their neighbors.
But remember,
Yeah.
part of what made China weak were the wars they had fought over the years among themselves.
Right.
Before they were united into one kingdom. There were very many kingdoms which were constantly at war with each other.
Actually, before they became one dynasty.
Yes, constantly at war with each other. Now, the thing about war, it leaves everybody dissipated.
Yeah.
Everybody is weak. Japan hadn't had that problem.
Yeah.
So it was easy for Japan to even attack and colonize huge parts of China. Yes.
Japan had an issue with everyone, including Mongolia.
They did. And if you look at the history books, there are war atrocities that the Japanese committed in China,
Yes.
which are still in living memory.
Yeah. They still have
We
drama.
haven't spoken of Korea yet.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Japan also did try to.
It was a colonizing nation for a long time. Yes.
But also, at one point, Korea did attempt to colonize China and failed terribly.
They didn't go very far with their attempt.
Yeah, it failed terribly. Actually, that first attempt was the one that told them, "Hey, let's just deal with our own problems.
Just keep to your own lane."
Yeah. History is actually quite interesting when you go to look at it.
It's instructive, and you need to read it broadly, because some of the history that you read has revision written all over it. Revisionists rewrite history to suit certain purposes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And that is one of the problems. If you look at any nation that was involved in what we now call ethnic cleansing, simply annihilating huge numbers of communities,
Yeah.
it is revisionism that then explains what they did. Or, in South Africa, even before the white came, they were fighting among themselves, and people were taking. So when and even them when they were there, those South Africans, see, they took the land from other people.
True.
So when the white people came, even they took the land, so they joined. And you're saying, wait. Those were Africans within their own borders. You came from some other faraway country. How exactly is it the same? How exactly is it the same? Many of the wars that many of those people had were actually among kith and kin, leadership wrangles. There is a king, there is a cousin, there are in-laws. Those were the battles that they had.
Yeah.
Europe had very many of those problems and very many of those wars. The outside force that came into Europe amidst their problems were the Vikings.
Yeah.
Okay? Full stop. Then Romans came much later.
Yeah.
But they're Europeans. Scandinavians, Europeans, among themselves. Now, when you come from Europe and come to Africa, you really need to try very hard to show us exactly the commonality of that particular language.
Okay.
And you need to thread it so that we hear what you're saying and explain it to us.
Yeah.
See? So, the revision is so that you can explain. If you look at Israel and the state of Israel as it was formed, it involved moving natives of Palestine from their land, moving forcibly and leaving them on a small strip, which the state of Israel has continued to reduce over time. And then you now seek to revise that history and explain that your occupation was right. These are not people who are fighting with you.
Yes. They literally came and fought them.
They had no war with you. They were Jews living in Palestine.
Yeah.
And they identified as Palestinian Jews. Just like if you look at their neighbors in Syria, they're Syrian Jews, they're Iraqi Jews, they're Iranian Jews, and so on and so forth. So now, you have to find history to explain why it is you are killing these people and why you took their land, because it was their land. And the revisionism...
But see, it's God who told them to go take it.
Where did God tell them?
See, in the Bible.
The people whose heritage... Let me just give you another example of Semitism to answer your question.
Yes.
When someone is a Semite, it is a people who come from that region. Jordanians are Semites.
All right.
Arabs are Semites. Iranians, all those people are Semites. It's not just Jews. So when you say anti-Semitic, it means you're anti all those people because they come from the same stock.
But now it has been coined to
these
mean...
Europeans who came in, these Europeans, they were people who were Semitic who were living in that region, and they were Jews. Now the Jews who came from Europe, the Jews who were brought from Europe, okay, and who came in, that is a completely different story.
Okay.
And they didn't come only as Jews, they came as Zionists. The occupation was a Zionist move.
Okay.
So you confuse it, so you're talking about Jews, you're talking about anti-Semitism, you're talking about Judaism, you're talking about so many things. Half the time when people read that history, they don't know. Then you throw in the Bible, God gave them that land. Okay?
I'm just saying what I learned in CRE.
No, that, my friend, is in the Bible. Even I have read it.
Okay.
Okay? But there was always the possibility of a solution to have two states. Always there. It was always rejected. Why?
All I think, personally, what I think is, why can't people just live in harmony without necessarily fighting? You identify as whatever you want to identify as.
There's always an aggressor in these matters.
Yeah. And that's why I agree with your point when you say that it is the Zionists, not... Because kuna watu kwa hiyo rende ilikuja walikuwa tu sawa, hako wana shida na mtu.
Then kuna watu...
People who had their own political agenda.
Because there are those who argue that part of what you see was the West, the Western Alliance, NATO and all those fellows, wanting a presence of their people in the Middle East.
Yeah.
That really, there are those who argue that way. But revisionism is something that we all do.
Yeah.
Even in our own country, if you look at the history of our country, or there are very many things that people will tell you, but it's revisionism. The facts are there, but they're not taught. So people come up with things like my all-time favorite.
Yeah.
When Raila said Kibaki Tosha, Kibaki was going to win that election, and Raila just went along with them. And I'm thinking, my goodness, were you in the country when all this thing was happening? Do you know what had happened up until then? This is something that those of us who do what we do, you need to be very careful about, because there are things that are said and they are popular, but they have a very, 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 very limited reality. A connection.
Factually incorrect.
They are factually completely incorrect.
All right. Yes. We shall have that history lesson when the time comes. Today, though, as we talk about those days that we remember, not necessarily celebrate because but we celebrate the end of a war, by the way. That happened in 1905. You can Google it, check out documentaries about it. If you have any questions about it, of course, they can be answered on those particular platforms. CT, uko na medali?
Niko nayo. Unataka nikupatie medali ya nini?
Tupatie, I don't know. Wewe ile medali umeona imekuja kwa buruweini yako, hiyo ndio utatupatia before tuingie katika rgk.co.ke.
You know the thing about Proverbs and contextualizing them.
Yes.
It's always interesting to find what it is that people have to say about Proverbs.
Okay.
But now, the proverb that I want to talk about today is a proverb about warning.
Warning. Caution.
Onyo.
Onyo kali.
Wewe panafanya hiyo.
Mali unapita unapata wameandika umbwa kali.
Kama wewe nafanya hiyo, wewe naweza umia. That sort of thing.
All right. Wanasema nini hao wahenga?
Wahenga wajua mambo yao ni mengi. Na leo kwa nataka kusoma hiyo gazeti yangu imekwama. Kidogo
imeleta tashwishi.
Kidogo imekwama kabisa. So uzuri kwamba niko na spare.
Na mwanaume lazima akuwe na spare kila kitu.
Nakwambia mwanaume ni effort.
Mwanaume ni effort.
Vizuri sana, lazima ujue hiyo. Usipojua hiyo, shida zako zitakuwa nyingi.
Mbona umeanza kuongea kama Raila? Usipojua utajiweka katika shida. Mama lazima ikuwe shwari. Mwanaume effort.
Wajua? Everybody has their idiolect. That mumbling and swallowing half of one's words.
Yeah.
That is Raila. That is identity.
Yes.
A warning to the wise is a blessing. To a fool, an insult.
A warning to the wise is a blessing.
To a fool,
it's an insult.
Yes.
It's true.
Nafikiri niambia ni kama nini? I was just a pan. Why? Kwani wewe ndio unajua? Pole.
Thank you so much. A warning to the wise is a blessing. To a fool, it's an insult. I hope you take that to the bank. Log on to rdk.co.ke. That's where you're going to find all the top stories, the ones that have been making headlines in the last couple of hours. And indeed, we deliver always. For instance, State House spent 3.6 billion in 42 days through emergency withdrawals. That is a story that you'll probably find in the papers. But if you log on right now while you're still in bed, you will get that right to your device. So let's check out what they're saying about this. It's written by one Tanya Wanjiko. State House spent 3.6 billion in just 42 days on domestic travel, hospitality, fuel, and related costs under emergency withdrawals, raising fresh concerns about the government's commitment to austerity. Yeah, State House spent 3.6 billion in just 42 days. Now I want you to
What do they spend it on?
According to them, it's on domestic travel, hospitality, fuel and related costs under emergency withdrawals.
Right.
Now, in 42 days, let's even assume it's 42 days from today. Take it backwards. That will take you to probably around mid-June. June, July, August. Yeah, it will take you to about mid-June thereabout. Like, where was the emergency travel? To be honest, we know the president went to Japan. We know the president at one point, I think during that period, was in China. But those were, those were monies that had already been budgeted for. Because Tiliambua State House, this particular financial year, they were given what? 2.17 billion in travel, whatever. Pesa ya kutravel. Sasa hii kitu ingine wametumia ya emergency ni nini? Where did the president go that was on emergency? Or the deputy president?
You know, if I pretended to understand the maths around the spending, that the executive, because it's executive, it's not government.
Oh yeah.
I cannot even begin to fathom, because it looks like it is one long spending spree.
It is actually.
So beyond that, if someone tells me travel, I can't even ask travel to where, because I do not know their travel itinerary.
Yeah.
I don't know what they need, because recently they went to Japan.
Yes.
That's travel. Okay.
They were in China.
That's travel.
Yes.
And it's not 2 people who went. Very many people went.
Yes.
So there's a cost.
But it was in the budget.
I agree completely. See, my confusion comes in when you throw in the word emergency.
Exactly.
Where's emergency? T-card we knew. We knew it well in advance. Even as last year we knew.
Tulijua kuna T-card, lazima tutaenda.
Tulijua. The visit to another country, it has to be planned.
Yes, tulijua.
So, these are the emergencies. Emergency means it was not expected.
Ghafla bin vu, yes. Punde si punde.
Yes, so unless someone explains to us the emergency, I will just be as ignorant as I was when we began the conversation. I don't know.
Because, and they've said the State House spent 3.6 billion in just 42 days on domestic travel. So this is not even international.
How much in shillings? 3.2 billion.
3.6 in 42 days.
Okay, that's around 1.5 months.
Yes. So we don't know which period this is, but I'm just saying, assuming we even start from today going back. So there's domestic travel, hospitality. I don't know who was being not hospitalized, who was being hosted to spend this amount of money. Fuel, ni wapi mlikuwa mnaenda hamkuwa mnajua mnafaa kuenda? Ama ni wapi lazima uende mali hakuna county commissioner mwenye unaweza pigia simu? Because tunajua mkono wa serikali ni mrefu sana. Yeah, in all aspects. So where is it that State House had to be that they are not represented by a county commissioner, so they can just make a phone call, or any other kind of political leader? Fuel and related, like, surely ni wapi uko mulienda?
As I said, my thinking on this particular subject is, as I said earlier, I actually don't know, because I am baffled and I don't understand. So unless somebody explains to me, then I will be able to comment. But as of now,
you're in the dark.
Well, the amount has been mentioned. Domestic travel has been mentioned. I am none the wiser.
So a report by the Control of Budget shows the Treasury released the funds between May 14th. Now we have the time. Between May 14th and June 24th this year, barely a week before the financial year closed. So this one was before the financial year was closed and before they mentioned this. Hey.
That isn't unusual. There's nothing unusual there.
The allocations were approved under Article 223 of the Constitution, which permits emergency spending on unforeseen needs outside Parliament's original budget. The COB report shows the Treasury granted three approvals, totaling 3.6 billion to State House for travel, hospitality and fuel expenses. However, only 2.3 billion was cleared by the controller in 7 batches. The revelations come despite government pledges to cut down on travel and allowances after shelving the 2024 finance bill, which had introduced 345 billion in new taxes but was withdrawn following violent protests. You guys go read that for yourselves and get to understand what
that speaks to a trend that has been spoken of, that every time before the financial year ends, there are a flurry of activities involved in spending as much money as you possibly can.
Yeah.
So it falls under that category. So you throw in the word emergency.
But it's crazy, man.
And it is absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah. You just
3
can't.
billion.
You can't. You know. Okay, assuming that we didn't need to travel for those emergencies, because I don't know where you will travel and spend 3.6, but hey, that's just me because I'm not in State House and I honestly don't know what happens in State House. But I'm just trying to think out loud and try and understand, what is this that we have teachers who've not been paid? We have what are these people called? Doctors who are still on strike in Kiambu, and they've been now on strike for over 100 days. That stretches beyond
school and capitation,
and many other things that we can point out.
They don't have drugs in public hospitals.
You see what we're talking about? Then kuna mtu ama watu, because I would like to believe ni watu walitembea, si mtu mmoja. Emergency fund ikatolewa ya 3.6 billion. Mimi ningependa kujua ni nini hicho kilikuanga cha muhimu sana kikafanya watu wafanye emergency travel na emergency hospitality. Nani alikuwa hosted na alikuwa hosted kwa sababu gani? Mi wakanipatia tu example moja na waniambia Mbuvi, cheki hapa kuna hii situation, I'll be like hiyo ilikuwa na make sense. Because there is no way you can tell me we spent 3.6 billion in emergencies that did not, and they are not emergencies that were touching on the common mwananchi. Unless they were, I'd really like to know them. Anyway, check that story on rgk.co.ke. Sakaja granted 60-day breather as Ruto Raila intervene in Nairobi standoff. So Sakaja has been given 60 days to breathe in, breathe out. So he called upon the president, and I think we mentioned something like this yesterday.
We did.
We said there will be a back and forth.
Yeah, and we said unless the two principals agree, it's going nowhere.
Yeah.
If they agree that he's out, he's gone. If they agree he's staying, he stays.
So obviously, people on social media they're saying that pesa ilitembea, which is most likely the truth. Most likely, nimesema most likely the truth. How true or not true it is, I guess that is a story for another day. But I strongly believe that pesa ilitembea mahali, na ndio maana hawa watu hawana nini? Hawa watu wametulia. Because there's no way you'll come and say, oh, our governor is not doing this, our governor is unaccountable, our governor is whatever things that you've said. Then suddenly, our governor is just okay. Yeah, something is...
But there are people who want Sakaja out, and I do not see them relenting.
You will always have someone wanting you out, City.
Yes.
You will always. Yes. As long as you're in politics, you're an MP, MCA, governor, president, you will always have someone wanting you out of the way. It just depends how much of their want is manifesting.
But bear one thing in mind. We have 47 governors, and their counties, you never hear such complaints. Have you heard such murmurs with the governor of Kajiado?
No.
I'm giving you an example. Have you heard such murmurs the governor of Tana River?
No.
Lamu?
Hapana.
Kitui?
Hapana, bado.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is you'll always have Okay, not necessarily wanting you out, but someone always just making noise and opposing you.
That is to be expected because you were not given a free ticket. There was somebody who wanted that same seat as you, and there's nowhere where we know that they've stopped wanting that seat.
Yeah.
Okay? I am simply saying that the examples we give, there are more counties in this country where we do not have problems like this nature than those in which we have such problems. That really is my point.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a valid one.
So some governors seem to have understood how to manage the work relationship with the MCAs better than others. Okay.
Yeah.
But then I have to ask the question: what exactly did Sakaja do?
Well, let's
what,
read that story.
What did he not do?
Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja secured a temporary reprieve on Tuesday after President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga separately engaged Nairobi MCAs to suspend plans to impeach him. The leaders urged the county boss to put his house in order and address concerns that had sparked the move, giving him a window to act before the assembly resumes the motion. The political intervention followed parallel meetings on Tuesday, one hosted by the UDA at State House and another convened by ODM at the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Foundation Center. Both sessions aimed to ease tensions between Governor Sakaja and the county assembly, whose members had grown increasingly frustrated over, here's the answer you were looking for, alleged governance issues in Nairobi. Alleged governance issues.
What are these governance issues?
Hawajasema ni gani?
Bas, ndio sasa.
Bro, wacha tuseme, let's call a spade, or at least from a citizen perspective. Kuna watu walikuwa nataka Kakiru.
Na Sakaja hakuwapatia Kakiru.
Na alikuwa anakataa kuwapatia Kakiru, ama walikuwa nataka Kakiru kakubwa na Kakiru hakakwa kanatosha.
Walikuwa wanataka ndovu, yeye alikuwa na panya.
Anawapatia. But then you know rats and elephants are closely related.
Oh, they are very closely related.
Yeah, so but anyway, walikuwa nataka ndovu, yeye alikuwa anawapatia panya. And wakasema
bro, kana hiyo panya yako.
Wakajaribu kunegotiate, inaweza fikia hippopotamus. Ni kama akawaambia the most I will do for you ni kondoo. Sema
kondoo.
Sawa.
So you, according to you, CC kondoo.
Kondoo.
Same WhatsApp group. Sawa.
Hence why they had to meet Raila and the president. So we wish Sakaja all the best in his endeavor. But let me ask, you're a citizen of Nairobi County.
I am a citizen of Nairobi.
Do you feel like your county government is working for you? And I'm not necessarily asking about Johnson Sakaja, the county government as a whole.
No, it isn't.
Okay.
There are very many people within the county government, even the executive, who are capable individuals who, given the opportunity to actually exercise the mandate of the officers, would do sterling jobs. But that is never the case. Being a governor of Nairobi, you are like the third most powerful person in the nation, just in terms of just the size of the economy of Nairobi.
Yes.
Now, Nairobi is too large, too huge to be run from City Hall.
Yeah.
It is too huge, or Riverside, wherever it is they run it from. You need to have units within Nairobi. There are many cities. If you look at the definition of cities and what it is that constitutes a city, the Nairobi City County has many cities. And until the day they understand that to be able to optimize the wealth and the strength and the capacity of Nairobi, you have to run these units so that you can realize these potentials.
Yeah.
The leakages that will involve when you centralize the management of this thing will always be huge. And there are those who want it to stay that way.
Yeah.
The proposal to have, there are those who call it boroughs, call it cities. People who are experts in this field, and we'll bring experts, planning experts, people who even worked in government, worked for the city of Nairobi, to speak more on this. Until we get to that point, Nairobi County will always be run inefficiently because all you ever told is we collected X billions. There isn't much talk of the potential and what ought to be collected. And even when that is spoken of, it hurriedly and then it's gone. This is a huge economic block.
And it needs to be taken care of as such.
Yes. It's being managed extremely inefficiently.
So perhaps you should make it like Washington, D.C., where there is no governor, but it is being governed the way you're saying. specific people put in charge of these specific sectors, and it's working as...
Why don't we just look at the wards, for instance, and look at what are within those wards? Or if you want constituencies, however you want to divide it up. If these were run as units, you'd be able to manage and have a very clear picture of what it is that is the potential of each of these places. Nairobi is massive. There is no way the number of MCAs that we have, together with the number of executive members, can effectively and efficiently run all these units from one centralized place. No, they cannot. They cannot. It is because of this reason that you hear me supporting the NGCDF.
Yeah.
Because I have seen what it has done. It has been misused thoroughly by certain individuals. But by and large, when you look at the good, which would never have been seen, I cannot be convinced that that thing should be removed.
Yeah.
And what now convinces me even less is the notion that it should be given to the county. County governments to get more money. No. They don't seem to have the capacity to manage what they get well. And yet they keep demanding more. They can't even give an agreeable account of how they've used the money that they get. And then they're telling us they want more. Why?
Sawa mhenga, ushasema. Tumekubaliana. But not on the NGCDF. Nimekusikia on the NGCDF, that one will always disagree until we get a proper working framework, or at least I understand it better, because yes, we know MPs get this CDF thingy, and some of them spend it very well. We have actually seen some of them being ranked.
You know that MPs actually patrons, that they don't actually run the NGCDF.
I'm saying the point here is ile lugha ninatumia ni ile lugha iko kwa ground. Kuna mtu kwa ground anajua Jalango Manzejo alitujenga na hiyo CDF. Babu Owino alitujenga na hiyo CDF. So mimi ninaongea lugha ya watu, because I am literally there with them. Even where I come from in Kitui County, my MP is actually doing a very good job. Is it patronizing? Being the patron of that NGCDF. So, but you see, I'm still coming from the fact that I feel like that thing should be taken away from them.
Given to who then? Because
we can decide who will be given that particular money. We can agree that yes, indeed, county governors are not doing a good job as far as managing funds is concerned. So it's a matter of, so who do we give it to, who will do a better job?
My question is, who is actually fighting it? Because if the mindset that you speak of is the predominant mindset among our people, you acknowledge and recognize the prowess of a leader by what they do for you. NGCDF gives a member of parliament a leg on to be able to stand for a seat as a governor, because in his own neck of the woods, it can be seen what people feel, this guy can do better for us.
Yes.
So I don't think there's purity in wanting to change it. They're vested interests.
Me, what I feel and what I think is that this thing first, one way or another, lazima itotolewa kwa MPs. Sawa?
But tuendelee na mazungumzo.
Ipatiwe, tunaweza agree. But from wale experts tumeongea na wao, wenye wameketi kwa hizi viti zenye tunaongeanga na wao, na wenye tumeketi na wao kwa nje,
what were the experts in exactly?
Kwa bunge za wananchi, in governance, political analysis. Yeah? So if someone tells you NGCDF is in the wrong hands, yes, and someone else tells you NGCDF is just okay where it is, and someone else tells you this thing is illegally in these people's hands, you have to weigh the options and look at what actually makes sense. Because at the end of the day, you and I want the same thing, City. We actually want better service delivery from our leaders, from our counties, from our governors. It doesn't matter who has NGCDF today, City, as long as it is being spent well. At the end of the day, that one I can compromise on and say, you know what, let's do it. If it has to stay with the MPs, sawa sawa. But I also want them to not forget the other duties they have. That is representation, legislation, and oversight. Iyo wasisahau. Because it looks like they are focused more on this NGCDF, because a lot of them, like you have said, they want to become governors. They want to become senators. Probably they want to become president.
Are you saying that they cannot have NGCDF and still focus on their co-mandate?
So far, majority of them are not doing their co-mandate.
And you think it's NGCDF that is the cause of the lack of focus?
If we can take one problem away, better.
Okay. I've heard you say, I've heard you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just because I have 2 venereal diseases, now we say I have to live with it. We can't take tutoe moja as we figure out how to remove the other one.
As long as the STI is curable.
Traffic.
Oh my goodness. Yes, it is very curable. Where are we? Oh yes. So there's a problem here. The usual spots, Muthaiga. Do I need to explain that one? Apana. Mkitoka kutoka huko, survey coming down Mathare Teaching and Referral Hospital, you understand that place is just one of those places. And unfortunately for you, you do not have alternatives. Hakuna bypass, hakuna expressway. But yeah, you just have to deal with it as it is. I'm looking at this road is called what? Outer Ring Road. Watu ambao wanatoka sehemu za kina Allsops heading all the way to Mombasa Road, the road is looking good for you, and actually on both sides of the road. So if you're going or coming back, good for you. Also, this particular morning, Embakasi North Airport Road is looking fantastic. No complaints. Just a small stretch that has a yellow line. That means that there's a little bit of traffic, but it's moving nonetheless. However, as you're approaching Cabanas, it is A-OK, imefunguka kabisa. On the opposite side, ukiingia barabara ya Changombe, hapo Ramptons, it's very, very bad. It's actually red. So that means one thing and one thing alone, that you guys are not moving. So I don't know what's happening there. Is there an accident of sorts, or is there some road construction going on? I don't know, but you guys are not moving. Mombasa Road, something similar along Stone Arts Mombasa Road headquarters. Small stretch, yellow line, but that means that you guys are moving quite well. Let me see. Ngong Road also looking very good at this particular hour. Nothing to report in terms of delays or whatsoever. You guys are moving quite well. But if you see something on the road I should know about, please highlight a brother.
Traffic on Radio Generation.
Youth vote. Rivals gear up for fight over Gen Z voters. That is a story on page 6 of the Star newspaper. How staff salaries are draining varsity coffers. That story is on page 4 and 5. Former Governor Wangamati freed on a 1.5 million shillings bail, and Barchok out on a 5 million shillings bail. That entire story is on page 9. You can get to read about these two governors. Your story ni kali. Sakaja apologizes to MCAs as Ruto Raila come to his rescue. You've heard that? Sakaja apologizes. Clearly kuna mahali walikuwa wamekosana.
Sakaja went to an ODM meeting, and yet he was elected. Yes, it was in the papers.
Okay.
Yet he's a UDA candidate.
That is the problem.
No, it's not a problem.
Hey.
Who says you can't attend some other party's meeting? You can attend.
But that is what made MCAs angry.
ODM is the majority in this particular assembly.
Yes.
And majority means those guys can kick you out. Okay?
Okay.
Now, this was supposed to be a truce that was engineered by the ODM leader. There isn't peace in this matter. There are people who, and I'm talking about what is in the papers. People who are still creating a fuss about it. There's something that Sakaja seems to have done, and people both sides. The UDA side, ODM side, they've decided, no, this guy has to go.
Yeah.
What?
Hurdle for reform as governors place demands on universal healthcare. That story is on page 8. And then on the Standard, stop this mess is what is on the front page. Jubilant fighters boast of seizing farms in Mandera and even thank Kenya for the warm welcome. As citizens flee their homes and government maintains an ominous silence. This is no isolated incident. From classrooms in Mandera turned into barracks to fishermen gunned down on Lake Turkana. Kenyans are left to bury their dead and abandon their homes as the officials look away. The president is keen on politics. The CDF is missing in action while the defense cabinet secretary is only seen on the lawns of State House during cabinet meetings. Our story is on page 4 and 5. So they have quoted a Jubilant fighter here. Kenya is our friend and has accommodated us well since early August after a fight broke out between us and the federal government forces who invaded our bases in Belet Hawa. We have no problem with the people of Mandera. Then there's Fatuma Abdullahi Hussein, who's a Mandera resident. Pia wamemquote hapa hivi. I have moved my 92 years old husband to Suftu together with our children on a day mid last month when the village turned into a battleground for Jubaland and Somalia National Army. City.
Yes.
I don't know what you have to say about this Jubaland situation.
Let me just say this. It looks like a fight within the boundaries of the larger Somalia have erupted. We are their neighbors. And when a fight of that nature erupts, remember, what is being reported in the papers is that Jubaland and the Somali National Armed Forces were fighting. And the fight has spilled over into
Kenya.
Mandera. And they were fighting even in Mandera. Now, the beef here is, what is it about the KDF and why don't we see them? Now, in such matters, I am hesitant to offer an opinion for a very simple reason. I do not know what the government of Kenya is doing. When such a thing happens, there is a lay feeling that the army ought to have been there to protect the citizens. From a purely lay position, it makes perfect sense. But what the government is doing behind the scenes to try and understand this thing and to quell the situation, I don't know. I don't know who the government is talking to right now, because I do not believe for a single second that nothing is happening. I do not. Something must be happening, and whatever is happening, we will know. In the course of the day, we'll be told this is what has happened, this is what the Kenya government has done, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth.
You know, mi tangu nizaliwe sijaisikia foreign forces apart from the US and the UK whom we welcomed with open arms in terms of come set up bases here, or operate from here, do your training here, and in exchange also train our forces kidogo like this, like that. But I've never known our sovereignty to be breached like this.
It's happened before. You just don't know it. How do you think it happens that we keep getting reports of Al-Shabaab being killed within Kenya? They came in.
But you see them, they come as terrorists, and
Yes.
we hear of OSG, KDF and Nani's Al-Shabaab had a clash somewhere. We lost maybe 2 soldiers, but we managed to.
It's a breach.
Yeah.
They come into our country, it's a breach.
But now, when they come in this way, they settle mpaka at the OSG, schools have been turned into barracks. A barrack is where like an entire army has settled. And they are very comfortable, they sleep, they have shifts in whatever army operations that they have.
Yes.
That doesn't disturb you?
It does. It does. It does. You see, the thing that I don't understand, Wajir has an air base.
Yeah.
Laikipia has an air base. Okay? If you're talking about the army, we have Amodika barracks in Garissa.
Okay.
All right? We do have armed forces which are not units that are not far away from where this thing happened. The Air Force in Nanyuki, that informs you could actually transport people to that place. The situation that is written in the papers about people turning, you don't turn schools into barracks in a day. This thing has happened for some time. It is now being reported. When I say I don't know, that's precisely it. Because I also can't understand, and I'm waiting to hear what the government is doing, because we do have armed forces nearby. Why we haven't heard of them doing anything is what I don't understand. Yes. Because from a lay perspective, I would expect that would have said the Kenya KDF are in this position, and this is what they have done, and this is how they're going about the business. But that story in the Standard isn't telling us that. In fact, which makes me now want to look at the other papers to see if anybody else has actually reported on that.
Okay.
I'm looking at The Nation, and The Nation does not have that story.
Anything on Jubaland? Nothing.
I have the pages I'm looking at. Sorry, they do not have any such stories. So, they don't. So, it appears like it is a story that has appeared in the Standard.
Yeah.
Maybe the other stories, the other papers will pick up the story and talk about it later. You have the
Star. They also don't
have a look at it and tell me whether the Star has that story.
Unajua hizi ni zile story kidogo mnasemanga. What's going on?
Yeah.
So there is absolutely nothing on matters Jubaland here. Policeman killed in Haiti. Crash is Kennedy Nzuve. That is mambo ya Haiti. There's actually nothing here on matters to do with Juba. Jubaland.
There is a story that has been penned by the PS Interior. And let me quote what he has said. Borders are in their essence opportunities for connection, trade, and sharing prosperity. The problem is their porosity, they're porous. A condition born from weak surveillance, fragmented jurisdiction, and limited coordination. Okay? Now, this is something that was written by Dr. Raymond Omolo, Border Vigilance, Intelligence Sharing Key in Wars on Terror. This is him talking about terror.
Yep.
Yes.
But nothing to do with the
Jubaland
Jubaland situation.
Just look, it is a story that it looks like the people who have the jump on it are the standard.
The standard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I very rarely comment on something unless and until I have adequate information on it.
Okay. What are the headlines on your paper? Or papers?
Yes. Why Ruto Raila saved Sakaja. That is the headline. Governors step up resistance against executive decrees. That's on page 6. Puzzle of ghost schools, learners, and lost billions. You know, this story is absolutely nonsensical.
Which one?
Ghost schools, learners, and schools. I mean, what are these people talking about? For you to declare that there is a ghost school, then you must know that school doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And you must know where it is supposed to be, because that's where it isn't in existence. I don't read anything about what they're doing about it, just telling us about it. Why are you telling us and you're doing nothing about it? And yet these are some of the loopholes from which billions are lost.
3.7 in the last financial year.
This guy should just resign.
The CS.
You are not made CS to be telling us things which we've heard over and over and over and over again.
Are you saying CS
He
Ugamba?
should resign. What is he doing? Telling us about things that we already know. Don't we know? Haven't we been told repeatedly that they are ghost schools?
Yes.
Haven't we been told that they are ghost learners? Don't we know that they are ghost teachers? So why are you telling us the same thing?
So I think perhaps, and this is me being very optimistic, see what the president did about SHA. Kusema watu watashikwa sijui nini. We saw 1188 files being given to DCI yesterday, or was it the day yesterday, before yesterday? Maybe we're going to see another 1188 files being given to the DCI about ghost schools.
The Auditor General is flagging something and talking about billions being lost in what we call free basic education. Because it is meant to be free and it's not free. It can't be free when money meant for it and for it to be free is being stolen. Now, why are the Auditor General keeps pointing out the theft and nothing happens? Why?
I get your frustration.
Why?
And I'm totally with you on it. What we expect to see is something happen. And you remember, that's why when we sat here with someone from, was it Kupet or Nat? I think it was Nat. Mi nilimuuliza, sasa nyinyi kama Nat, fine. We know that you do not have arresting powers or prosecuting powers, but at least you're stakeholders in the education sector. Yes? What are you going to do about this so-called fake schools? And he said, we'll hold the ministry to account.
That one you're going to keep quiet.
Nikamuuliza, so next year same time, are we going to hear about ghost schools again while you people are still in operation as Kenya National Union of Teachers? He said, Mbuvi will try our best. So me, I'm hoping.
Even such people should actually just resign.
We asked Boaz and Dr. Maina when they came. As National Parents Association, mutafanya nini? Because we don't want to hear this again next financial year, that all 3.7 billion has been transferred to ghost schools while you people are still in office. Because sasa mimi na wewe, the only thing we can do ni kuuliza hizi maswali to the stakeholders in the education sector. So let's hope they will do something about it. Yeah? Haya. Kuna story hapa kwa the Star newspaper, how staff salaries are draining varsity coffers. A story that is on page 4 to 5. Some of these universities are getting some good amount of money. As far as, no, actually wait. They're saying that how staff salaries are draining varsity coffers. So that means the amount of money they are making versus what they are paying is even more.
This is the bane of our existence, sir. County governments, you're told 60% of what they get, if not more, goes into paying people. It's like, where do you think the ghost workers come from?
Yeah. For instance, Technical University of Kenya, total revenue, 2.8 billion. Of course, there are some coins after that, but 2.8 billion. But the amount of money they paid personnel was 3.26 billion. That is a wage bill percentage of 116. So you're actually spending more than you're making. Then there's Taita Taveta University. They made a revenue of 533 million. Pesa ni kidogo. But they paid 463 million. Then we have Technical University of Mombasa. They made 1.9 billion, paid out salaries of 1.6 billion, which is about 83%. And we can go on and on and on. Let me look at my alma mater.
So where did they get the additional money to pay for this? That's what their share now, what the government gave them.
Yeah.
I see.
Kenyatta University made 9.2 billion, paid out 6.5 billion. But hawa watu wa Technical University of Kenya ndio niko na maswali mengi.
Even when someone tells me those figures at Kenyatta, I still question.
Yeah. Multimedia University, they made 1.4 billion, paid out 1.07 billion. So what is left for research and development? Because that's basically what universities are.
So the monies you are speaking of are paid as salaries?
Yes, these are just salaries. How staff salaries are draining university coffers. That's the
If we have ghost
headline.
workers in the education sector, universities are part of the education sector. Are we therefore alluding to the possibility of them being ghost workers in our universities as well?
I wouldn't be shocked if they are.
Or ghost students?
I wouldn't be shocked if they were.
All right, let me shift gears a bit and look at the business daily. You know how we talk of insurance, we think of cars and buildings. Well, in Kenya, you can also insure food crops, that other people know.
Yeah.
You can insure horses, dogs, and trees. Kenyans insure food crops, dogs, horses for 36.7 billion. Okay. They also have a story of how State House withdrew 3.6 billion for travel meeting in 42 days. Okay. Public servants pocketed an extra 43 billion in pay deal. That's public employees took home an additional for 3.1 billion in the year that ended in June 2025, mainly due to salary agreements approved by Salaries and Remuneration Commission, handing them a major boost and raising the cost of living. The cost of living is raised. Now, when there are many people, no, well, there are not that many, but a sizable portion of people who suddenly have an injection of more capital. If the goods and services that are being offered are not commensurate, well, the cost of the buying of these things will go up because there's a higher demand.
Yeah.
But is that what we're seeing? Because this, what seems to be in evidence, that as people get money, they're not spending it, which means people are keeping their money.
Yeah.
And again, what is evidence is if people are saving their money, then it explains why it is the government is able to borrow domestically, because there's money to borrow. Remember, banks trade with other people's money.
True.
Okay? Yes. Then there's something interesting in the business daily. There seems to be some movement in KRA. The lady called Rispa Simiu.
Yeah.
Rispa Simiu was a commissioner in charge of large, medium taxpayers at the KRA. And she's set to leave her post next month, ending a 5-year tenure that coincides with a broader leadership transition at the tax agency. Okay? So this is Kenya. When you hear of movements, you ask why.
Yeah.
The why isn't easily explained. It is presented as though this is what normally happens. I will agree with them that it normally happens when I read and understand how many commissioners there are,
Yeah.
and how many are actually being transferred, and the length of time each and every of those commissioners has been in that position. If there is the slightest anomaly, and some have remained, then I will ask, why is this lady being moved?
Okay.
And if she's being moved, are there other people who are also being moved? Because she's not the only commissioner. Yes.
So questions.
Oh, but one must ask.
True.
It's in the public domain. So the question is also being asked in the public domain. The other thing about the nation, the Auditor General's report has been spoken of. How Sakaja removal plan was scuttled. This is what, that's on page 5. This is what has...
How Sakaja's removal was scuttled, eh?
Yes.
Okay.
But that is now a conclusion after the article on page 4, why Ruto Raila saved Sakaja from being kicked out of office. Yes.
I want to read 2 comments here actually in regards to Sakaja.
Yes.
Actually, one is on Sakaja. So I'll start with one by the Kikombe. The Kikombe mesema mkisema billions na kaza sehemu sana. Hashtag how much is a billion. Now the Kikombe has actually a very nice, interesting analysis of how much a billion is. You might not have, we usually say a billion can fill this room plus a half.
That doesn't quite explain it.
But
how does Kikombe do it?
So Kikombe alisema hivi, if you were to rent a house that is worth 200,000, say in Karen, Runda, whatever, 200,000 Kenya shillings, you will pay that rent for 416 years before you exhaust 1 billion. So you're living in a house worth 200,000 in terms of rent, 200,000, assuming it never changes, inflation doesn't exist, you will pay that rent for 416 years before you exhaust 1 billion.
Kikombe, I thank you. I encourage people to look at these monies that we keep talking about in the billions, calculate further, and look at what a billion shilling represents in primary school education. Break it down. How many students will be taught, what they'll be able to receive from that billion. Go to secondary school, go to university, and then go to hospitals.
Yeah.
Look at the level 2 and 3 hospitals where most people go to and ask yourself, this 1 billion, what would it do for the facilities? And look at it specifically to a county maybe, look at it in all 47 counties, and for how long this money would be able to serve. Once you understand that, when somebody talks to you about 2 billion, you know exactly what 2 billion will do.
So you can imagine when we just read earlier on that some 3.6 billion was
emergency spending in 42 days.
When we hear e-citizen spends about, earns about 12.6 billion in 1 year.
Yes.
On convenience fees peke yake, zile za 50 bob.
Not other things.
Convenience fee.
And if that 50 bob, you have to ask, how do you arrive at the 12 billion?
Yeah.
Is it really 12 billion?
Tutaambiwa tu. I think we're hosting someone from e-citizen.
We'll ask.
Oh yeah, we'll ask those questions. Wafula team on Bado YouTube anasema hivi. The biggest crime mentioned against Sakaja is hiring goons to fight off innocent Gen Zs. Do not try to offer support for Sakaja. That is what he has said. Kwanza hiyo do not try and offer support for Sakaja ameweka in capital. I'm sure angeza kuiweka in bold angeiweka.
You know, we claim to be a democratic country and our laws are clear. You're innocent until proved guilty.
True.
So what is his sin? That is my question. He hired goons. Has it been conclusively proven that he hired goons?
Unfortunately not.
I am of the view that this man is incapable of managing the county of Nairobi. That is my view.
Stories are goons are neither here nor there.
But it isn't that he has a mental incapacitation. What anecdotally is spoken of is you cannot run the county of Nairobi without the input of the national and the executive. National leadership and executive. So you're not really independent. So a lot of the instructions that you have as to what should happen are not made by you. That is what is said.
Yeah.
But then it also lends itself to the incapacity of the person who is in that position. Because the very people who give you instructions, you ought to be able to tell them, guys, this is not going to work out in the interest of the country, the county, and even you. And give reasons. If you make the mistake of complying with what you are told, if that is the case, it is your signature that is on those documents, not the other people.
Yeah.
And when the chips fall, guess where they will fall?
You remember when former governor said that he signed those papers when he was high, drunk?
Yeah, he doesn't even know what he was signing, as though that's an excuse. Ignorant in this country, not an excuse.
That was very interesting when he said that. But yeah, coming back to Sakaja, and the fact that Wafula team here has reminded us that at one point Sakaja was actually accused by certain people in this county of having organized goons, from state, not state house, but from City Hall. Videos have emerged of individuals leaving City Hall, wakiwa in hizo viboko, and so on and so forth. For me, there's that thing that unakubukanga to at the back of your mind, that we're actually dealing with some very interesting individuals in power. I am not saying that Sakaja did what they accuse him of doing, but it takes me back to those movies that I told you about. You know those movies on conspiracy theories where, you know, the mafia is the one running the county, sometimes even running the country. You know, there are people, the power brokers.
So they're called organized crime, like organized criminals.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know,
so they're essentially a government.
Yeah, power brokers, cartels, whatever you want to call them, the mafia, the mob, whatever you want to call them. They're people who actually, you see the president, you think he's the power. But there could be someone else who's actually, or some other individuals who are actually the power behind the powerful person.
You know, may I advise you to take more time watching National Geographic?
Unakumbuka venye si Raila Uhuru alituambia 2 billion inapotea kila siku, mnataka nifanye nini?
It was corroborated by Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. They did their maths and they came up with a figure that was close to that. Do the maths. 2 billion every day.
I have no problem.
In a year, how many billions is that?
I have no problem with the mathematics. But I have a problem with when he said munataka nifanye nini.
That was a good thing that he said. I like that statement.
Me, if today my father told me that, look, things are happening in the house, munataka nifanye nini? You know me, that's the day I'll know we are done as a family.
No, you're not done.
No.
Asked a valid question.
No. If he's the patriarch.
It doesn't matter.
He's
a
the
human
lead.
being.
He's the priest.
It doesn't matter. He has limitations.
If my father comes and tells us,
he is a human being who has limitations.
You know me, I can never tell that to my family.
That's you.
I can never say that to my wife and my kids.
That's you.
When my kids come and tell me, Papa, this, that, and that, niwaambia sasa, munataka nifanye nini?
That is you.
Yeah. So you see where my problem is. Yep. My problem is with when a leader says munataka nifanye nini, then we have a problem.
Oh, where's the problem exactly?
You want me to tell you the problem?
Yes.
Tucheze news kwanza.
Radio generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. 2 women have been charged in court with possession of fake $560,000, which is equivalent to 70 million Kenya shillings. Kamar Salad Abdi and Ifra Ali were charged in Nairobi court for possession of forged currency under Section 359 of the Penal Code. Arrested on August 28, 2025 in Kilimani sub-county, police recovered $560,000 in fake USD 100 notes. They pleaded not guilty before Magistrate Ben Makekube, who set a bond of 500,000 Kenya shillings or cash bail of 400,000 Kenya shillings. The pre-trial is scheduled for September 18th, 2025.
All right, so since bail has not been in a way challenged, I also take cognizance of the fact that the first accused person, as confirmed, has been unwell. It has also been established that the second accused person has an infant child that we're told is 2 months old. So doing the best I can in balancing both the interests of their liberty and that of ensuring that they attend court, I'll issue the following bail and bond terms. Obviously, cognizance of the nature of the offense, which is quite grave. I cannot underscore that fact. So I'll issue the following bond terms. So each one of them will be admitted to a bond of Kenya shillings 500,000.
President William Ruto has said that from next week, the government will pay Social Health Authority contributions for 1.5 million Kenyans unable to afford them. Speaking during an engagement with grassroots leaders from Turkana County at State House, Nairobi on Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, Ruto said the initiative is aimed at ensuring access to healthcare without pushing vulnerable families into financial ruin. The president reiterated that no one should be compelled to sell property in order to cater for medical expenses.
So, from next week, God willing, from next week, we are now going to pay for the 1.5 million Kenyans who have no capacity to pay, we will pay for them. Sijui kama tumekubaliana watu wa Turkana. So we have changed. And I am very happy that hata kama watu wananipigia kelele wale wanalipa zaidi, lakini that is how we are going to have a nation where nobody has to sell their property. Mtu asiuze shamba, mtu asiuze ng'ombe, ati anaenda kulipa bili ya hospitali. Na ndio sasa hapo kwa SHA tumesema kila mtu ajiandikishe.
The government has released the 294.4 million Kenya shillings to more than 109,000 vulnerable houses in 8 arid counties under the Hunger Safety Net program. In a statement on Tuesday, the National Drought Management Authority confirmed that the funds will be available in beneficiaries' accounts at Kenya Commercial Bank and Equity branches and agents from today. NDMA CEO Hared Aden said the disbursement is part of government's ongoing efforts to cushion households in arid regions from the effects of drought and economic hardship. According to the statement, Mandera County received the largest allocation of 59.6 million Kenya shillings, followed by Marsabit at 55 million Kenya shillings, Wajir County was allocated 51.7 million shillings. A fresh magnitude 5.2 aftershock has struck eastern Afghanistan. This comes days after a powerful quake in the same region killed more than 1,400 people and injured 3,000 others. Rescue efforts following Sunday's magnitude 6 quake has been complicated by landslides that have blocked roads, making land travel difficult. Helicopters have been deployed to aid the search for survivors in the ruins of remote villages where many are feared trapped under the rubble. The Taliban government, which is only recognized by Russia, has appealed for international help. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning. I'm Winnie Maganga.
In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor!
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
Welcome back. It is now 5 minutes past 7 o'clock. My name is Mungana Mbuvi. CT Muga is in studio. Guy _007 amesema, am I the only one who dances to that news signature tune? Amani ufala niko nayo. And then the show this morning from Kenya, Israel. Guy _007, you are not the only one. I also dance to it once in a while. CT, however, I believe doesn't know how to dance. CT, do you dance?
I do.
When?
Surely, I dance when I want to dance. I mean,
you don't go out on Fridays, you don't go out on Saturdays?
Once in a while, I do.
Ama you just dance in the house. When you listen to Wajaluo dancing in internal organs, it's never physically out here. Like, we will never see it. But when, you know, the song that you like plays, that time matumbo zinagongana huko mbaya sana, intestines zinafanya hivi, the kidneys vibrating, perhaps gyrating.
Ulisoma primary wapi?
St. Hannah's Preparatory School.
Okay.
It's in Karen.
Huko nilisoma? Right. Then nilisoma school ingine ambayo iko karibu na Kangemi inaitwa Nairobi School.
Iko along Wayakiwe. We actually neighbors with Kalro. No. Opposite James Gishuru. Kangemi. That's where the Nairobi School is. Former Prince of Wales.
Then ukaenda Kenyatta University.
Nikaenda Kenyatta University, yes.
Kuna watu mlisoma nayo huko?
Wengi sana.
So if I were to ask, they would chime in and say they saw you there.
Oh yeah, one of them is actually Dr. Duncan Deda. He's been appointed to that committee that is compensating people. He's in the same committee with
mlisoma na wapi? St. Anna's Nairobi School ama University?
And it's not Anna's, it's Hannah's. Tulisoma na Kenyatta tulisoma na Nairobi School.
Tulisoma na Nairobi School.
Yes.
Okay, same class.
Okay.
And he's the only one who went to that class with you?
No. There are very many others.
Kweli,
Head of neurosurgery in Kiambu County, Dr. Johnston Muthoka. He was actually my desk mate. Yes.
Okay, and they can attest to having seen you in school.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
What are you trying to say, bro? And they can trust to see me in school. Of course.
Kuna watu wanasemaga walisoma lakini you're hard pressed to find people who went to school with them. So that's what I'm inquiring.
Wow.
Na hiyo class yenu from form 1 mko na group ambayo WhatsApp mnapigaga story mnakutana.
Yeah, form 1.
Yes.
Tunajitanga waliovuma. Yes.
Okay, that's very good. It's the dancing thing and the intestines dancing and how you can believe such a thing. That's why I needed to just understand the path you followed. But for the things you believe.
Oh my goodness. Sitibuga?
Yes, please.
Sawa. Unajua kwetu watu wanatumiananga wengine nyuki Sijui kama uko aware.
Are you aware what my people can do?
Yeah, they dance with their intestines, yes. I'm very much aware what you guys can do. Okay, so I'm very Mnaweza kutuma nyuki, nyinyi mnaweza dance na intestines, it's okay. So Eunice Kyoko is asking, CT, those are important questions. We need to know if he really went to school. You've made my day. Hey, yani mnaweza side na CT. Haya, juu mnadhani kizungu yangu nilisomea wapi?
Kizungu gani? Half the time you talk in Kiswahili.
Which of course nilisomea pia Nairobi school.
Sheng pia ulisoma Nairobi school?
Nairobi school ilinifunza vitu mingi sana bro.
Really? It's good school, that one.
Including Sheng.
You know, I think when the proximity to Kangemi is good.
You know what? Done. Let's talk about things that actually help this country move forward. Someone has actually asked me out there when we were on a break. I mean, Lisa, why are we spending so much money on emergency fees, 3.6 billion, while we have schools having not received capitation? I don't know if 3.6 billion can actually cover the deficit of the amounts of monies that are...
Even if you give the school capitation, the understanding is that they don't spend it all at once.
Yes,
okay?
They spread it across the year.
Precisely. So the 3.2 billion, when you look at it, you look at what it is, granulate this thing and break it down to what it is that is spent per student per day in the country. Okay?
Yes.
And say, how much does it come to? That will give you a very clear aggregate as to how or what that 3.2 would do. Okay?
Yeah.
And that is not difficult maths. Okay?
Yes.
There's a gentleman who had done the maths earlier on. These are the things they need to do, so that when we have this conversation about the monies, if we can't attach the money to something that is crucial to our daily lives, then the money just becomes a figure and even confusing. I have a problem even conceptualizing a billion. 9 zeros. It's difficult.
I mean, it's a crazy amount.
It is an absolutely crazy amount.
If you've ever held 1 million in your hands, then you think you just multiply that by 1,000.
My point exactly. The vast majority of the people who live in this country do not even earn 100,000 shillings a month.
Yes.
Vast majority. And they live in the same country.
Actually, they say it's less than 400,000 people who earn over 100K.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So you have a situation where, and these people who earn 20, 30, 40, 50,000 shillings go to the same shops as those who earn more. Same shops. When they board a matatu, if they do, they are charged the same. When it comes to these overcrowded public schools, all I'm saying is that if you look at the preponderance of private schools, it tells you that more and more people are opting to take their children where they feel that the learning opportunity of the child will be enhanced. And that is often enhanced with the student and teacher ratio. If a teacher has a class of 60, 70, 80 students, my friend, that teaching becomes very difficult. Because to teach, you have to assess. And to assess 80, because you're not teaching one class, you're probably teaching 3 classes. In one, Form 1, 3. I'm going to continue calling it Form 1, not Grade 1, because that one comes easy to my mind.
Okay.
The next class, you're probably teaching 3. When are you going to mark whatever it is that you give them as an assignment? Those numbers are huge.
Speaking of St. Hannah's Preparatory School, once in a while you'd find your teacher has made a mistake in terms of, what they were marking. So you'd go back and be like, hey, teacher, this one you gave me wrong, but I think it's actually the correct answer. And they would check and be like, oh, yeah, by the way. And then they would adjust the rating, the marking. Now I can imagine if you have 180 students, because again we start here with an official from NAT, and he told us that there's a school, Ndurarua Primary School. There's a class that has about 180 students.
They should go to Karagita Primary School in Naivasha and find out just how many thousands of students there are in that school and the compound that they are in and what the learning situation is. That is representative of a true learning situation in primary schools in Kenya.
Now there's a school called Ngwata Primary in Mulolongo. Hiyo shule ikifungwa wakati wa home time sijui inakuanga saa ngapi, in saa 10, whatever that time is. When those kids are released, you will think people were from a political rally.
There are many.
Yes. Now, someone who lives there told me it's actually 3K plus students.
And what's the space in which they're learning?
To be honest, I don't know.
Yep.
But I have been there. I've just never been inside, but I have been there. It looks like it's a huge compound.
There is a ratio that should be in terms of, first of all, the space that you must have within a classroom for effective learning to take place. Then the ratio of teachers to students, okay? Why private schools become attractive is you'll find a teacher as an assistant, and those students are 20. Those children are going to learn infinitely better because there is adequate attention that can be divided among these. When there were 40 students in a class, you could manage. When I taught, that was the class you had. 45.
What is the recommended ratio?
I do not know the recommended. It was 40 per class.
Yeah,
it was 40 per class.
Okay.
In an earlier time when our population was smaller, it was 30 per class. Okay, but once free education, primary school education was announced, that went out of the window because you couldn't stop students from coming to school.
Na serikali ilisema pia watoto wote waende shule.
Yes, that is why we got down to 60, 70, 80, some class 100. By the way, and the classroom did not increase in size. So the option is to look for money to build more classes.
Okay.
And that's where the PA came in, Parents Association and so forth. And they tried and they did. By the same token, because of that need, there was also a need for a corresponding secondary school. So you'll find very many old primary schools, because they were built with an understanding they needed to expand, they had the compound. You'll find secondary schools have been built on that land, and they probably had the same name as the primary school. Okay? Now, but this also tells you that over the time and over a period of time, there's a period of time when the government did not build adequate schools. It's like the government relied on the private sector.
Is this after free education or before free education?
Before and after.
Okay.
Before and after. Yes.
All right.
But after free education, after the Kibaki era, the number of private schools being built, it was even enhanced. More and more people. I guess, given that we are a business-minded people, the opportunity was seen. And that's why you have private schools that cater for all economic levels of individuals.
But it's interesting you've mentioned we are a business people, yet there are private schools that actually shut down.
Yes, they do.
For instance, the first primary school that I went to in Karen, it's called Forest View Academy. Ilifungwa about maybe just before COVID, thereabout. Because business wasn't just doing good.
Over time, they were overtaken by events. If you look at the schools that are being set up now by people who have the means, what they offer, the offering, is what guarantees that the children will go there. The era in which you studied in primary school, we did not have devolution. When devolution came about, more money became available locally within the counties. So you will find that there are very many private schools being built in counties. So instead of somebody moving out of the county to either go to what were previously provincial schools or scrambling for national schools, there are private schools that offer quality education, 844 system, and some will say they offer Cambridge and other systems that are international in nature. A business person will understand the nature of the business they're getting into, and they will study it. So when they set it up, they have a very clear idea of what they're doing. And many of these schools, even as you find some shutting down, there are more schools being built than those which are shutting down.
Yeah.
The one thing that a Kenyan parent focuses their mind on more than any other is the education of their children. And business people know this.
So again, I start with someone who owns a school. She came here not here actually, previous station. And we had a conversation around just, private schools and what's going on. And they said, because it was like, she was representing the umbrella body of sorts. Akasema that business has been really bad, especially after COVID. They don't have the numbers that they had before. Children are no longer coming back to school, to private schools, because now they can hardly afford private schools. They are going back to public schools because it's free, and even if they have to pay some fee, it's way less than what they would pay in a private school. So I don't know if that is still the case, and I wish we could get someone maybe from, perhaps we shall look for one person or a couple of them from private schools to tell us whether currently it is the case. Because at that particular time when I had that interview, we're talking about probably 3 or 4 years ago, alikuwa anasema things have been thick.
Even after COVID, things may have stabilized, but it is not where we were before COVID. And now the hardships seem to have even increased, because the moment you introduce taxes and levies, what you've done is you have reduced the capacity for individuals to have disposable income. Private schools are going through a very difficult period right now. And they have to change the way they do things, allow parents many varied ways of paying in installments. It is a clear understanding of the economic times. Because in the absence of that, you will lose students. And it's a business, remember. And it must go on.
Let's just break down what it takes to run a school, private or public. You need obviously the staff. You will need the students.
Let's start with the staff and students when you assume you already have classes. Okay? And the classes are furnished, and you have the equipment to teach.
By furnished, you mean they have desks, chairs?
And you have labs.
Okay.
If you're offering technical subjects, you have a technical side to it. If you're offering business classes, you have a computer lab. Okay? And other schools have other things. I've seen schools that even offer aviation. There's schools who want to offer engineering. You have facilities for these things.
Now, for the day-to-day running.
Day-to-day running, many primary schools offer lunch. And the reason why they offer lunch is because the movement in a place like Nairobi for students to go home, man, people come from far, it won't happen. So lunch is offered.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm talking about day schools. I know this because I was a chairman of the board of a day school.
Okay.
So I know. Okay? Now, beyond that, there are people who work within the compound of the school who are not necessarily paid by the government. Maybe watchman, maybe some officials. Those are paid by the board.
Watu wa kuosha huko.
Yes. Then the teachers were paid by the board. Many primary schools, many public schools, whether it's primary or secondary, you will also find that not all of them have teachers who have been brought up by the Teachers Service Commission. There are teachers who are called board teachers, meaning they're there. It's like they've been hired by the board to help teach. Okay?
To fill in the gaps.
The vast majority of schools in the country are day schools. Vast majority. Okay? And that's where now the disparities come in. You will find that they are categorized. County, extra county, national, and so forth. That schools that are ancient in nature and fall into the category of national schools have a huge advantage over all these other schools. One, they are old, so they've had some of these facilities from time immemorial.
Like Nairobi school.
Like the school you went to, that's one. Two,
Nairobi school.
Like the school you went to, which you tell me is called Nairobi school.
Okay.
Are we okay there?
You're very much okay.
All right, so.
Yeah.
Now, what you will find is that because it's an old school, old in that it was established a long time ago, it has alumni.
Yeah. Prince of Wales is the name of the school.
Alumni are a very powerful force in the education sector because many of them over time have worked in government. So these schools have a lot of support. Some of their alumni can even influence policy. Some of the alumni have means. So these schools benefit from all this.
Like Musalia Mudavadi, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, is an alumni of the Nairobi school that I went to.
That is so wonderfully good. Thank you so much. Now, when you consider this, you then have to ask, Is there equity in our schools? And the answers are resounding no. There are schools which are remote. They may be government schools. They may have one lab, and there are 400 students who need to use this lab. It becomes really tricky for that, but they have a lab.
Okay.
Okay. There are schools that do not have a lab. Now I am told that you can do lab work remotely. You don't need to actually be, yes. You don't actually need to be
in the lab
physically to do this work. I'm just trying to tell you the progression.
Yes.
But the disparity that exists in equipment. It exists in the teachers
Personnel.
you have who are trained. Oh yes, and that makes a very, very big difference. And there are places where just by virtue of the geographical distancing are not popular places where people want to go to. So people may even be posted there, but they will not go. Okay, for whatever reason. Now, equity means these are things that are looked into, so that it doesn't matter which part of the country you come from.
Yeah.
You are guaranteed the same value of education that someone in the school you went to has. That doesn't happen.
So now that you've talked about now that equity aspect, we saw Eric Omondi building a school in Turkana somewhere, and then it was demolished. So I asked the National Union of Teachers official who was here that, why are we having such issues in such a place? And he pointed out the obvious. Some politicians do not like you outshining them, especially if you're someone from outside coming to do things that they are supposed to do. And you have support, from Kenyans, because Eric Omondi at that time went with money that he alikuwa amechangisha kutoka M-Pesa za watu. But I also listened to Eric Omondi in another interview he was having, and he said that those places, by the way, kujenga shule ni norma in terms of classrooms, because the place is so hot. You put children in a classroom and, you're basically condemning them to boil to death. But also the National Union of Teachers official asked a very interesting question, because I asked him that particular thing. I was like, is it perhaps the reason why we don't have schools in Turkana and such places? Because and he asked me, kwani governor anaishi wapi? Governor anaishi under a tree. I was like, by the way, no. The teachers that teach there and people who, the MP, the local MCAs, do they live under a tree because the area is hot? I was like, no. So I want to understand what really is the issue with some of these places that we like to imagine are marginalized, and they do not have these kinds of facilities that people in Nairobi have.
If you remove just the discussion around marginalization, that is a reality for many of these places, and then you come into the discussion around the sort of leaderships that people have, then unfortunately it will boil down to a leadership problem. There are areas, and I've mentioned this before, who understood the value of education and even started their own independent school. That was Central Kenya. The schooling the missionary schools that was being offered by the colonialists, they realized these things are shortchanging us. So they began their own line. Now, over time, many of these schools were absorbed and they became government schools. They understood it. They were called Harambee schools in the days of old. Now, if you come from a community where people understood the value of education and were building schools as communities, it tells you very few communities had that mindset. They were waiting for someone else to do it for them. Okay?
Yeah.
That wait depends on the strength and the understanding of the leader. How do you lobby to make sure you get a piece of that cake? Or do you sit back and wait for it and blame the government when you don't get it?
So, lobbying. You lobby from...
You have to lobby. You have to. The resources,
lobby the government or lobby private?
Lobby the government. Look, the government always has limited resources.
Yes.
You have to know how it is resources are divvied up. And you have to know how it is you are going to get your voice heard. That's why you're representing your people. Then came the advent of donors. People want to help us with water. People want to help with schools.
Health.
Yes. And for many, many years. And some of these disadvantaged areas came into focus, and they had the advantage of being considered first, because the disadvantage was clear, obvious, and it was known. Okay? But it again boils down to leadership. When you have leadership who have limited vision, limited capacity to actually do what needs to be done but think that once they're elected, their job is to talk about what hasn't been done instead of trying to figure out what you can do, then you will linger behind and you will not be able to move up. When we crafted the new constitution and created the counties, it didn't start with the counties, it started off with an amalgamation of what we now call counties. There were something like 12 divisions within the country, which was slightly more than the 8 or 9 provinces we had before. But it was an understanding that sometimes for development to actually get to the remotest places, those regions need to have their own money, which they can prioritize to do the things they need.
See, right now, for example, we have that equalization fund for those areas.
Yes,
in
it
the
has a
arid
time
and-
span when it will expire. But yes, it was why it was set up, so that you get more money than others. Even you hear people complaining, oh, why are this place getting money? The reason is because the money was allocated for them to catch up, to put it simply. They were left behind. It was deliberate. Now, the opportunity for them to catch up was provided. Now, whether that money has been utilized to catch up, I don't know. But that discussion has even changed. There are those who even argue that Nairobi is marginalized. They're not wrong. There are areas of Nairobi, there are areas of Nairobi that one could argue are neglected.
Such as?
Or some of these areas where you have not low-cost housing, you have informal settlements.
The Mukurus.
Just mention any,
Okay.
and you would ask, why has something not been done about that? Because something can be done. And then again, it boils down to the leadership problem. Why do you think I support this CDF as much as I do? Because I understand the illegality of it. Parliament, the same people can make it legal. I understand all this. But before CDF came before county governments, and I've seen firsthand, this is the advantage of traveling around the country. You get to see things. I saw what CDF do. You know how you know? Because these fellows put up billboards that are so huge, even if you didn't want to see it, you would see it. So you stop and you read it. Though in some places you find there's a billboard which is even bigger than the building. That doesn't make sense. But at least you know something was done. Turkana is really hot. And stories are told about Turkana. Lodwar specifically. Because of the nature of that place, when it rains and there are floods, the water gushes right into the town. And in some places where the burial sites or the burial entities are in shallow graves, you could find bodies floating. This is not me making up. I've been to Turkana, so I'm talking about things that I was told when I was there.
I've actually seen documentaries on that.
Yes, me, I've been to Turkana. It is hot. But then if you grew up in Mombasa, that heat doesn't bother you that much. There's architecture for hot places. Bigger windows, higher roofs. Just increase the flow
Of air.
That's it. And ventilation.
Ventilation, yeah.
Just make it different. A cold place, if they have small windows, you'll understand. So when someone tells you it's hot, that really doesn't wash. Not really. Not really. And we've had leaders coming from Turkana for the longest time, and they all began their education in that place. Again, leadership. Leadership. For people to be able to understand what they have and how they can change, it is leadership that makes it possible.
So, guy_07 anasema, I know several schools that closed. The loss for those investors is immense. Most of them had loans. It is sad. So, guy_007 anaongelea private schools for sure. Switch gears kidogo to private schools. You know, investors, when they put up schools, because I've actually seen people invest in schools, to be specific, and the amount of investment there is huge. It's immense. From just getting the land, then setting up the classrooms, then hiring the teachers, and just waiting for students to show up. Because initially, when a school is new, people don't just necessarily enroll immediately. They'll start enrolling at the lower levels, kindergarten and perhaps grade 1, grade 2, thereabout, as they test out whether this school is actually good or not. And after investing for years, going back to the school that I went to back in the day, and then that school shuts down. That school produced a lot of people who went to all the big schools that we know of, the national schools and the prestigious ones, the St. Mary's, Akina, Strathmore, and so on and so forth. And you look at that situation and you ask yourself, what went wrong where at one point, at what point? And we have established and we've agreed that indeed the economic status of Kenyans has changed over time. And it's been getting worse and worse for the vast majority. So now, at what point do we get to salvage our education system? And when I say education system, I don't mean the 844 or the CBC. I mean like just the structure, the veins of that particular institution that we want to call the education sector.
It's not the salvaging of the education system that is really the discussion. It's the salvaging of our minds. It's the salvaging of the priorities that we as Kenyans believe and we act upon as being part of our core values. Every time you mention a budget in this country, the next thought that comes to mind is how much money people want to make. Education has the biggest budget. Clearly that amount of money doesn't all go into education, because if it did, whether it's secondary school, primary school, university, we'd see many changes.
Yeah, over 700 billion.
The questions are always there. The answers are always fewer than the question. And the responses are always fewer than the questions that were asked. Okay? So when you talk about education, why I'm referring to the mindset, what we need to do is not that we don't know. We all know what we need to do. That's why people keep saying elect leaders who are this way inclined. Those leaders get elected with every electoral cycle. That's why they're elected. They have a good promise. But the entrenched culture that we have for people wanting to plunder public coffers, that is the bane. I'm using this word bane again, often, of our existence. Because that's what people want to do. So you find you're overburdened by debts, which we are told is nearing 12 trillion. So the discussion about defaulting still coming into being. And yet, if you look at what this country has been able to produce over time, and once again you have to go back to President Kibaki, who with great clarity indicated that at the time of his tenure, the borrowing could not go beyond 5% of our budget. There are those who argue that there was a year when we did not need to borrow at all. What that means is that we have sufficient resources to run our affairs. So why do our people always insist on borrowing? See, it's that same disease that has occupied the minds of people in leadership, that it is okay and it is fine for them to pretend to do good, hence a huge budget. Yeah. But within that budget, there's always an embedded pilfering, plundering narrative. How much of it comes to you? That's why we keep reading ghost schools, ghost teachers, ghost students, and the story goes on. Auditor General, government has this, the county governments have done this isn't there. We currently have two governors who were guests of the state for at least a night until they were released on bond. And the issue is monies that were left in their care and which they were supposed to superintend, and clearly they didn't superintend as was purposed. So now they're facing charges. They're not the only ones. See, from the time the Auditor General raises the issue, at that point it's not a problem. Your job is to go and answer and explain. That's why they go to Senate to explain. It's this, it is this. And when they're satisfied, the committee that handles this, they've satisfactorily answered these questions. When they're not satisfactorily responded to, then the matter is taken to an investigating authority like DCI. It's taken further. DPP says, prosecute. And I see many governors falling into that. Because many governors have proven that they are absolutely and irredeemably poor managers of the resources that they were elected to manage and superintend.
Are they poor managers or are they thugs? Because they just thug that money.
I am just referring to how misplaced and how inadequate the leadership is. And that's what I'm describing.
I do not understand how you can submit a budget to the control of budget. The budget is of X amount of money. Let's even say you have a budget of 2 billion. The control of budget, says that, okay, fine, here it's okay, here you adjust here, and you do the adjustment, and then you say, okay, fine. And then it goes through. And then you're approved That money is approved and you're given as a county governor. And then the Auditor General comes and says that we have Governor X who's stolen 700 million. He can't account for another 300 plus million. And yet, tulisikizana it at the initial stage, at the budget making process. When we submitted that budget and when it was approved, everything up to that point, it was okay. When you were given that money, kila kitu ilikuwanga sawa. But now when it comes to auditing, after you've spent then now suddenly there's some money. So for me, I'm not saying that they're poor managers. I'm just saying they're thugs.
You see, there are people who are thugs but are very good managers. They will steal, but things will function beautifully. So you will know money is being misplaced, but the amounts don't bother you too much because you can see service being delivered. These fellows don't even deliver services, man. There's always talk about service being delivered and none of it is delivered. It's if you're determined to be a thief, at least be competent about it. It is wrong to steal, but if you feel you're that way inclined and you have a calling towards thievery, then why don't you just do a very good job of it so that we have problems determining where you have stolen? These fellows, we have no problems determining what they've taken. None whatsoever. They first tell you they've stolen because they have lifestyle issues. So we can see. People who work in counties are locals. People know them. They know their families. They are known. So you suddenly can't become wealthy in a year. How? So when there's a deficit, when there's a budget and it hasn't been fulfilled, one asks, who was in charge of this docket? We look at your lifestyle. It isn't even difficult to tell. So the incompetence is demonstrated in very many ways. If you want to look at this thing politely, you will say they lack the capacity to manage those funds. That also is a truth. But that lack of capacity extends to how they intend to enrich themselves. They leave such gaps that anyone who now wants to follow and look at it, criminal intent and even criminal action will not be difficult to deduce.
Yeah.
It will not be difficult to deduce. Many of these fellows will find themselves in some really, really sticky situations. The sort of pressure that the executive has currently is immense.
Yeah.
And in our system, the pressure is heightened with an election now looming. When people complain, there is a reason why they are complaining. When they say they're not getting service in the manner that was promised, they are saying what they are living through. It's their lived experience. When people say they don't have money in their pockets, they are telling you their lived experience. And when the people who are charged with the duty of ensuring that there is some money in their pockets seem to be living large, you cannot blame the citizenry for being absolutely unhappy, because they're asking, wait a moment, why are you so keen on looking after your interests and ours are being neglected, and we're the ones who put you there in the first place? And those voices don't get dimmer, they get louder.
Yeah.
Because the problem with the situation we have, it'll cut across every sphere we have in our economy. Education comes to the fore because that is a pain point for many parents. Health is a pain point. Then comes employment. We have an education system that has promise if it were implemented. But man, the hit, the misses that we've had, the problems, and an entire term goes, nobody has learned because the teachers, you even wonder, why did you implement it in the first place when you're not ready? What are you doing to these students who are going into this system? Because they will emerge out of it at some point. What will you see?
There'll be medium rare.
Yes. Yes.
Watakuwa wameiva lakini juu ndani hawajaiva.
In fact, wamechomeka juu, so nafikiri imeiva na haijaiva. So I'm simply saying, it is not one issue. Many issues following each other. Then someone feels, wait a moment. These fellows are taking us for a ride here.
Yeah.
They don't really intend to do good by us. And that is what you see is now facing Sakaja. The problem with this thing is when they start, it may be quelled now. It'll come up again.
You know, you've brought up an aspect that perhaps we have been thinking about it just never hit us properly. And perhaps it will start hitting us at the wrong time. When we have already produced graduates, at the end of this all, so we tumalizana na watu sasa tunangangana sijui na grade 10 sijui
it's grade 10
JSS sijui whatever. By the time we sort that nonsense, these people get into high school. By the time we are done with also sorting that part, we have people getting into universities. I wonder how many of them will actually get into
and look
university.
at the problems we have in the university currently.
I honestly wonder how many of them will get into university.
How do you expect you have an entire education system? Forget the payments and people and arrears and forget that. The system itself is jagged. The system itself isn't working smoothly. Before the CBS, and by the way, this government didn't bring it. It's the previous government who brought this thing. Why did they need to change it? Why didn't they just tweak it? We have a situation where you've interfered, literally interfered almost irrevocably with the learning of a certain segment of our community. And that is supposed to be okay. And all we do is our ears and eyes are filled with stories of ghost schools, ghost teachers, ghost students, ghost. And the learning process is being sacrificed. The children are not learning the way they should learn.
And time is not stopping.
Yes, we have an abundance of teachers, trained teachers, we have excess. The story is the country can't afford. You know, the story of not affording is even easy to understand. Then you read an article about 3.2 billion shillings being used in emergency. You know, whether you want to notice, you actually start getting upset. What? Travel.
Emergency travel.
Accommodation.
42 days.
How on earth is that a priority? How? In this day and age where you don't need to travel to meet or to talk to someone. How?
That's what I was asking. Why status needs to move, or rather people in status need to move, yet we have county commissioners. If you need to go to Machakos, there's a county commissioner. Call that person. He's literally the representative of the president.
He's there.
Call that person and make things work in that county.
You don't have to go there.
Yeah.
But when you're in campaign mode, you do need to go there. And then you need to go and tell people what you're going to do for them. You see, I don't hear conversations about, since we came into power, this is what we've done for you. We're still in that same mode where we're telling you what we are going to do for you. And this was the campaign narrative. So we haven't actually moved, have we?
And I've just been reminded of a situation right now where some teachers need to go for retraining. You remember that whole issue of retraining for JSS?
Yes. The retraining makes sense to me in this sense. When you introduce new systems, there needs to be continuous training. In any sphere, you have continuous medical education, CMEs in the medical field. People are updated, people are brought up to speed with new changes, new technology, new methods, new drugs. It is important. It shouldn't be that it is a big step. It is something that ought to be an integral part of learning. You can't introduce a new system without equipping those who are supposed to impart that learning. You cannot. You must. And it has to be continuous. But this ought to have started when the conversation of CBC started. These teachers are the ones who ought to have been the evangelists for this system. They were not. They were naysayers. Half the time they're telling you they didn't understand what this system was about. So those who set it up, who among them understood it? The Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development has some of the brightest, sharpest individuals and who have a wealth of knowledge on curriculums and how these things work. It's an amazing place. It's truly amazing. Whether they're listened to
is another story.
It's a completely different story. And that's where our politics begin. Because when everything is politicized, then politics is about expediency. Education is not about expediency. Education is about longevity. Education is about the future of a country. It's a future of a people. And the caliber of the individuals who are being built for that future, in preparation for that future. And you ask the question, do we see it happening? With the myriad problems that you have, can you look through all that mist and come up with the understanding that actually we are on track to building the future with the people who have a clear understanding of the future, they are being equipped for it? Do you see that?
No, I don't.
So, every time I see the picture of the CS education, and he speaks, in my heart I want to say, just keep quiet, Chief. Don't. Stop telling us and talking to us about what will be done. Tell us what has been done. Every time you hear capitation, there's a date in which it's going to be given. Tell us when it is given, because we can easily corroborate with schools. The teachers who are needed so that the CBC system can work. Why don't you just tell us the 24,000 are inadequate? Start by telling us how many schools need teachers, tell us the numbers of teachers that we need, and tell us how you are hoping to fill that gap.
Yeah.
But don't throw a figure at us and say 30,000 have been employed. 30,000. Okay? And how many schools do you have in the country? So,
they'll always give us, and from a communication point of view, I sort of get their end goal. Their end goal is communicate positivity.
No. That positivity
and
makes sense if it's the truth.
Give positive news. How many teachers have we employed? 30,000. Fine. Vis-a-vis the number of schools that still will not get teachers, or the number of classrooms that we need, or how many students are in class. You see, your part is the bad part of the news. Just tell them that, look, we are employing 30,000 teachers. That is good news. Let them celebrate. But chini ya maji, when you come to the ground and realize, by the way, 30,000 teachers is a drop in the ocean.
My friend, there are 35,700 primary schools in the country in total.
Yeah.
So if you post 30,000 teachers,
one teacher per school. You see, that's the bad news. They don't want you to
what have you done?
It's like someone comes and tells you, City,
and there's some 7,000, there's some 5,000 schools which will have no teacher.
If I come and tell you, look, I have good news and bad news. Of course, you'll be like, hey, give me the good news first. The good news is we have 30,000 teachers who are going to be employed. Yay! Then you clap. And then the bad news is that hawatoshi. So I'd rather not, because at the end of the day, sija kusaidia, I've still messed up your mood. So let me come and tell you the way we have 30,000 teachers, you celebrate. Let me figure out how we're going to deal with the fact that walimu hawatoshi. And I think that's how, unfortunately, that is how government communicates.
If you look at the number of students who exit the secondary school system every year, let's start with the year 2023, when there are around 4.1 million students enrolled in secondary schools. So, if you do the maths and you look at the entry point and the exit point, you have a very clear indication of the number of students who enter the primary school. You even know the attrition rate, how many drop off. Primary, secondary, university. Okay?
Yes.
They don't go anywhere, they're here. Okay. Now, should you not, as an education system, an education minister or CS, understand that a country like ours, with an ever-increasing population, that our education system needs to mirror one like the one we heard of Estonia, where our curriculum teaches people to create businesses. Not wait for employment, because that's the cry. We're not employed. Why don't we take the pain and bother so that by the time somebody is finishing secondary school, they and a group of friends or individually, they have a business that they've tried out, they've been supported, and it's actually working. So the person leaves school with a job. If they go to university, they can only increase their capacity and their understanding to do this thing better. So when you talk about the CBC and it being a good system, you are focusing on it not having exams. I thought that's a very big thing. It is not. There has to be an exam. The thing is, you want to ensure that people are assessed continuously so that their understanding and grasp of the subject matter reflects in the outcome of their learning. That we understand. And thereafter, You see, that thereafter is crucial
Yeah.
to that system of education. It is extremely crucial. But if you change it and the outcome is the same as the previous one, you've done nothing. People are still living that education system and they cannot do anything except wait to be employed or wait to go to university or wait to go to a TVET. How useful is that education then? An education that offered you employment was useful in my time because jobs came a begging. You could leave school in 7 and get work. Form 2, there was Kenya Junior, that was before my time. Form 4, you would get a job. You would always get a job. Form 6, now the jobs are really many. University, you have a lot of employment before you finish your exams, man. You even know where you're going to work. You have not finished your exams. So in such a system, it made sense. But those who think ahead, I am certain, in the education sector, in that ministry, there are people who looked ahead and saw.
Yeah.
If you look at how the 844 was crafted, it was supposed to produce what I am saying. Just a little tweaking, and people are now trained to think business, depending on whether you are in the technical subject, commercial subjects, whatever it is, you think along those lines. If you give that system 10 years, the 844 system was there for us decades, not a decade, decades.
Yeah.
By now would have had a homegrown system where the discussion is not about where the job's coming from. We have a business that works, we need funding. We are a startup, we need help. And we had a system that could do that, whether it was Kenya Industrial Estates, whether it was ICDC. We had institutions that could help. And these things were, they were already outside the national government, they were in provinces. Yes, they existed. They had offices, they had businesses. So the structure required a little jump start so that it works. This conversation would be very different. If now with the system we have, you still find people innovating and coming up with new ideas. Imagine if you had a system that encourages that physically and literally.
Yeah.
The story of employment would be a completely different one, or the unemployment.
That is why I've always advocated for people becoming entrepreneurs and finding opportunities where they can actually offer others employment, as opposed to being coming out here and waiting for the government to provide that employment. Because we have said it here time and time and again, Gava can't employ everyone,
even if they want to. That's not their job.
Yes, they just can't.
It's not their job.
Even in a country of 1.3 million people like Estonia, the government can't employ everyone.
No,
yeah,
there is no space for employing all those people.
It doesn't make sense even, actually.
The economy is bigger.
Yeah.
The opportunity for entrepreneurship, as you mentioned, exists within the economy.
Yeah.
Now, thinking ahead and growing a nation, the education system becomes a pivotal point at which this growth process begins. The minds are trained to think and understand things in a certain way.
Yeah.
But when they get to the point where they're now grown up, this was long embedded, and that's how they continue thinking. So, as I said, the unemployment problem ceases to be a problem. Yes.
And once we get that part right, I think for us it's a mindset issue.
It is a mindset issue. That's why I started off by telling you earlier on. It is not these things we say. It is how our minds function and how we have purpose that we must think and look at life. That is where our problem is. And yet, when you have a nation like Kenya that actually exports labor, trained labor, what does that tell you? The human resource is available. It's just underutilized.
Yeah. So I've just done a quick Google search here of the GDP of Kenya versus that of Estonia, because at least we can make reference to the conversation we had yesterday. Kenya has a higher nominal GDP than Estonia, but Estonia has a significantly higher GDP per capita, reflecting a much wealthier population. For example, Kenya's nominal GDP is estimated at $131.6 billion in 2025, while Estonia is around $41.3 billion. However, Kenya's GDP per capita is estimated at $2,468 compared to Estonia's much higher figure of 30.1 thousand. Yani wametutaandika in how many times? Over 14 times over. And the reason I've chosen this apart from a conversation we can actually refer to, you can get onto our YouTube channel, that is Radio Generation Kenya, in case you missed that conversation with the honorary consul of Estonia. And she mentioned that part where City has just referred to in terms of they are taught entrepreneurship literally when they're in high school.
Yes.
By the time this person is getting into university, if they choose to go to university, they already have that base of, I am an entrepreneur, I am a business person. So what about
and there is a business.
Yes, and there's already a business. And she actually mentioned that even foreign investors come and invest in those businesses.
Yes.
And she mentioned a company like Bolt, the taxi hailing company. Something that we use here on a daily. Imagine, do you know how many Kenyans use Bolt?
Very many.
You are enriching certain individuals in Estonia, and you should, because hey, they toiled and they came up
with that idea. And
yeah.
Because they have it's like they have an incubation hub. The system of education is an incubation hub.
Yeah.
So people are allowed to expand their horizons when it comes to innovation. There's something I want to mention just in passing as we come to the end of the hour. We made a lot of noise about the CS for Health taking files to the DCI.
Yes.
Why has the CS of Education not taken files about these go schools to the DCI?
I'm hoping it's because they are compiling them.
Compiling what? How do you talk about things which you don't know that?
Aki ya Mungu nina hope ni kucompile wana compile. Otherwise, if they do not take a file to the DCI at the very least in the next 2 months, me I'll just not look out na enjoyiwa.
What 2 months?
I've just said sorry, I have just said I'm literally giving them leeway.
No, don't give them leeway. The moment you tell us they are go schools, send the list this week.
Ndio ninasema mimi ninawapatia tu time wagather intelligence wanahitaji kugather, yani wafanye kila kitu wanafaa kufanya, because if we do not see something happening, tutajua tu ilikuanga tu story porojo, like Daniel Torotich used to call it. So let's hope that it is because they are literally doing something about it. Anyway, we've come to the end of the hour. But as we do that, I want to encourage you guys listening to me right now. We need, as a country, not even you, I'm putting myself in that particular conversation. We need to actually become innovative. Hii historia kungojanga serikali itusaidie, my friend, mutangoja. Hii historia kungojanga wanaitwa nani mpatiwe kazi sijui na akina nani bana, mutangoja. We need to start becoming innovative. Let us study some of these places that we hear about. Estonia, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Netherlands. All these countries that we hear are doing amazingly well. America, UK. Let's see what makes them tick, because clearly I think we have the same things, if not more. Anyway, here is the news with Madam Winnie Maganga.
It's 8 o'clock.
Radio generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Residents in Mandera have staged protest against the presence of Jubaland forces in Border 1 Post Village. The demonstrators say their children are too afraid to attend school, citing fears of abduction and forced recruitment by the foreign troops. They accuse the national government of neglecting their plight, warning that what they term as illegal occupation is worsening insecurity in the region. The residents are now calling for urgent intervention to restore safety and protect Kenya's territorial integrity.
Watu ya Jubaland Malaysians wako Mandera, wako BB1, watu wamekufa, wako hapa kwa shamba yetu, wanafanya training hapa, watoto wetu hawasomi, sisi hatulali usiku na mchana, tunaogopa.
Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has challenged the youth to continue asking hard questions on the country's governance, assuring them of a proactive response to their concerns. The DP urged them to avoid violence and exploitation by those seeking to undermine the country. Kindiki was speaking when he engaged with youth leaders from Embu County at home in Irunduni, Tharaka Nithi County, where he assured them that the Kenya Kwanza administration is deliberately finding solutions to the challenges facing the youth.
Let me ask you, if by 2027, if we will have created 1 million jobs under affordable housing markets and hostels, 1 million jobs under Kazi Mtandaoni, 1 million jobs under Kazi Maju, 1 million jobs under another assortment of jobs, including the Kazi Mtaani climate work. So you have like lifted 4, 5, 6 million young people from joblessness and hopelessness. And you can now request for more time to do more. Okay? So continue asking the questions. Continue asking the questions.
Chief Conservator of Forest Alex Lemarkoko has dismissed claims of forest grabbing by Friends of Karura Forest. He has accused the group of financial impropriety and misleading the public. Speaking on Citizen TV on Tuesday night, Lemarkoko said the Ministry of Environment audit had uncovered irregularities in FKEF's management of Karura's funds. He noted that under Section 13 of the Joint Management Agreement, all gate revenues must be deposited in a bank account jointly managed and approved by the Kenya Forest Service, but alleged that Friends of Karura Forest failed to comply with this requirement and other obligations.
An audit that was carried out by our ministry. And in fact, a number of issues were unveiled. You'll be shocked at the kind of embezzlement of funds by FKF. In fact, the joint obligation of the parties requires that, if I may read, Section 13, that an account jointly run by the parties in a bank approved by the service. This bank is not, all revenues from Karura and entrance gates are supposed to be paid into that bank.
The National Assembly's Committee on Implementation and Oversight of the Constitution has summoned Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja to face lawmakers on September 16, 2025. This is after repeatedly deferring previous invitations. During a press briefing at Bunge Towers on Tuesday, MPs expressed anger over IG's failure to appear before Parliament, saying the delays had crippled oversight of police reforms, including unresolved payrolls disputes, recruitment concerns, and accountability issues within the National Police Service.
To issue summons to the Inspector General of Police to appear before this committee in person on 16th of September 2025 at 10 a.m. There's the issue of the smooth functioning of the National Police Service Commission. There's the issue of quorum. The activities of the commission have been hindered by lack of quorum.
Nairobi residents have been given a 7-day ultimatum to claim 295 bodies that remain uncollected at the city mortuary, with the county government cautioning that those unclaimed will be disposed of in line with the law. In a notice, the Nairobi City County government said it will be forced to seek court approval to the county, indicated that the bodies have been lying at the facility for long durations. Causes of death include road accidents, mob justice, drowning, shootings, murder and abortion, while a number of the deceased have been identified by name. Others are yet to be recognized. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning. I'm Winnie Maganga.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This is Radio Generation. In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast, curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast, your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights, Radio Generation.
A very good morning and welcome to Radio Generation. It is now 7 minutes past 8 o'clock and we are getting into a morning conversation, one that we have actually been waiting for quite a while. In studio, tuko naye Siti Muga kama kawaida, but then again we are joined by our esteemed guests this particular morning to have this very important conversation. Let me start by introducing Professor Herman Manyora. He's a political analyst, and with him today is Willis Otieno, a lawyer and the deputy leader of Safina Party. Gentlemen, welcome to Radio Generation once again.
Thank you very much.
Professor, let me start off with you. First of all, how have you been since the last time we met here? A very good conversation that we had.
Yeah, I've been okay, thank
Yeah.
God. Yeah, the normal challenges of old age,
Yeah.
but we are managing.
Yes. Willis, the last time you were here, you actually told me some very interesting facts about what will happen once, not when, but not if, but when you take over the reins of power in this country. And one thing you said that your party is committed to doing is you'll stopping the illegal debts that this country has. And I have never stopped thinking about that conversation that we had. And I went everywhere I've been going, nimekuwa nikiambia watu, unajua tukiacha kulipa hizi madeni tutakuwa na pesa mingi sana kwa hii country. Like right now we're having issues with capitation.
Yes.
Yeah, some of these things will actually be taken care of by these kinds of moves.
Exactly, and I still hold that position.
Yeah.
This country will not progress economically until we deal with the debt monster. And that debt monster is informed by legal debts, debts that were taken without following the laws of Kenya.
Yes.
Some of them ended up in people's individual pockets. And yet the obligation to pay is with the people.
There's actually one debt that CT says never reached Kenya. Actually never even reached Africa. Ilipotelea tu mahali
Uko Qatar, from the JP Morgan.
Yes.
It went to an account in Qatar. $1 billion US dollars. That is 100 billion Kenya shillings. That is just Eurobond 1.
Yeah.
And yet the obligation to pay is lying here with the people of Kenya. And there were 7 other Eurobonds. We don't know how much of that got into the country.
Yes.
And there are still more that they are taking. So are you going to mop funds from this country to pay for those debts which never came here? The sums never circulated in our economy.
Yeah.
That is what is killing this country. And legacy politicians don't want to talk about that.
Yes.
Because you'll find them in those private accounts where the money went. They will not pay.
Let me ask the good professor what he thinks about that situation, because I am ever since I found out that particular fact of the amounts of money that have been borrowed and probably never reached us, or stolen or misused or wasted, for me, I'm finding it hard to sleep every single night when I realize that actually we are our own problem more than we actually think we are. We knew we are our own problem from the beginning, but right now we are realizing that there's a bigger problem to the kinds of people that we are.
I think this problem is bigger than my friend Willis and his party boss, Jimmy Wanjigi, think. It's part of an international system. It's part of the capitalist system. It's not something you can deal with in one blow. Certainly not as a country, because it's an international system. It's a very complex web. That's why any leader who comes up anywhere in the world, especially the third world, and tries to run out of this system, they always get into trouble. It does not matter how long it takes, but the West will always catch up with them and slaughter them.
Just to be sure, are you blaming the Bretton Woods system, or are
it is an international system? Beyond, Bretton Woods system is part of it.
So it's just another parallel one.
Let's make it simple. Let's break it down.
Okay.
Respective of how complex they are. They don't need to be city mover in thinking.
Yeah.
Let's say you take over a country,
yes,
an African country, and it has a debt of about 12 trillion. I think Kenya is around there. And then then you realize there is a lot of wealth under the soil somewhere in Taita Taveta.
Yes.
Then you go for that, mine it in a year or two, and pay off all the debts. You think you'll get peace? You'll be removed from power, because you must always be part of that system. You must always be indebted, and the debt trap is part of what fuels the international capitalist system. No country can be allowed to get out of that trap. You must be there.
You want to tell me there's no country on earth that has escaped that trap?
Of course, you must be a very inconsequential country.
Such as?
The major players of the world. The major player. And those who try end up being slaughtered somewhere. That's how bad it is. But for us, what perhaps Willis and his boss are saying is actually true and umtat. For us, it is crude. It is crude. Being part of the debt system is one thing, but getting the money and putting it in your pocket is quite another different thing. Of course, if you read books like Lords of Poverty and so on and so forth, international, you realize that there is a lot of it really doesn't reach the countries. That's obvious, including foreign aid and all those kind of things. But for us, I think we engage the excess gear. That's what I think they are talking about.
One thing I must say is this. I agree with Prof to an extent, but we should not fear. What we should first do is divide our debt pockets, because this odious debt is found in different pockets. There is the domestic debt component, which they've taken debt illegally here in Kenya, has got nothing to do with international partners. And the domestic debt is now almost 6-point-something trillion. Which international...
It's almost 50% of the
50% total debt
portfolio that we have.
Yeah. So which international system are you upsetting? This is now our own local Kenyans enslaving us. So deal with that one. If somebody took domestic debt illegally, don't pay. Number 2, we have the sovereign bonds, the so-called Euro bonds. These are the syndicated loans that are taken between Kenya government and private commercial banks internationally. Has got nothing to do with the government. The Euro bonds fall in that category. Then we have the multilaterals and the bilaterals. The ones that now will fall within the China Exim banks, the World Bank, IMF. Those ones, in fact, when you go into this odious debt, you'll find that in this particular instance where Kenya is today, they constitute the minutest component. In fact, World Bank, for example, they do development funding. A World Bank funded project, the stringent conditions are such that you will not find the money will be odious. Our problem is this sovereign bonds and domestic bonds. That is where the main problem of Kenya is. So when we say we are going to do it, we'll tackle it, we mean it. Mozambique, when Kenya took Eurobond, Mozambique took Tuna Bond. Some $2 billion just like the Kenya Eurobond one.
And they refuse to pay.
They refuse to pay. They don't. The court say don't pay. Mozambique is still here. It has not died.
Hakuna mtu amewachukua.
Hakuna mtu amechukua pale because in fact the consequence of it is this. The consequence is that Credit Suisse, which was the commercial bank that was financing that arrangement, collapsed. Its own executives were arrested in their own country, not in Mozambique. So when there's criminality, what we lack is courage to confront it. And legacy politicians will not do it. Why will they not do it? Because you'll find they are also complicit. It is not like we are saying we are going to abandon, for example, a World Bank debt. That's when you can say maybe the international consequences because you followed your laws, the debt was taken legally. Then you upset many things. But when it is these ones, these commercial arrangements between individuals in Kenya and commercial banks abroad, or individuals in Kenya and domestic banks in Kenya, don't fear them. Safina Party, we are very clear. We are saying we will not pay. And all I'm seeing, when we stop paying, we will be 2.3 trillion richer.
Instantly.
Because we now have the 2.3 trillion that we are using to pay for debt this year will be available to us. And our focus is very clear. With 2.3 trillion shillings available to the government, what can't we do?
Professor has did you just call Mozambique?
Hold it. 2.3 trillion.
2.3 trillion. That is the amount of money we are paying this financial year as debt finance.
Which means it's almost 50%
of our budget. Actually, it's more than 50%.
In terms, don't even look at the budget. Look at it is in terms of your revenue collection. Because if we use this last financial year's projection, they collect around 2.5 trillion. This year we are paying 2.3 trillion. So it means of your revenue collections, what you collect as tax,
100% is
almost 100%, 90-something% is going to debt finance.
And even much better,
if you maintained it.
Much better is the fact that now that will be strictly for capital.
Yes.
Because whatever you have, most of it is for recurrent salaries and the rest, and repayment of loans and what have you. Now this one will be a chunk you can dedicate to development. I understand you, but I also want to alert you to the fact that the people you are calling domestic are the same players on the international scene. You touch one here, you touch the international structure. It's not as simple as... let me tell you this. When Ruto and Gachagua were coming to power, I remember especially Gachagua, they say they were going to have a commission to deal with state capture. You remember that?
Yeah.
Even dealing with cartels in coffee probably too tough for them. Leave alone the cartels at the national level. This is not something you can solve within the normal political matrix. In other words, you take over power as a president, and you come through a democratic election. You are working within the confines of the constitution and the laws of the land. You have parliament, you have the judiciary. All these structures you have, you cannot do what they are saying. Though all these institutions are put in place to ensure that system survives. That system of theft.
Okay, but he has just given a perfect example of Mozambique.
That's, I told you, unless you are dealing with fringe places, nobody can allow Kenya to do that. Kenya is not Mozambique. You touch Kenya, you are touching part of the international system.
Why do you think that can't happen in Kenya?
What I'm trying to say is this: unless you come up with an overhaul, you can't do it.
Please explain.
A major overhaul. Let me put it this way.
An overhaul of what?
Let me put it this way so that City Muga does not ask me many questions. You know, it's still in the morning. I haven't even taken breakfast. These things you are saying can only happen if you have a madman in State House.
Mad how?
A madman. Somebody beyond Magufuli. And let's not talk about Magufuli because it is too early again to talk about people. Somebody worse than Magufuli.
Okay.
I rest my case.
We're here.
I rest my case.
Magufuli represents an ideology.
A big shift. Big radical shift.
You know, Prof, what I'm saying, what we are saying is this.
The legs on which the politics of this country stands, you must cut them.
You know, Prof, what we are dealing with, this is a revolution.
Yes.
This is not politics as usual.
The revolution. Are you coming as a revolution?
This is an economic revolution. What's the question of our next election?
It's the economic revolution cannot work without a political revolution.
Let me just explain. Let me just explain.
Yes.
When our young people came out last year, and
yes,
even this year,
yes,
the trigger of that was not a legacy politician mobilizing them.
It was the finance bill.
It was the finance bill.
Yes.
And the finance bill is about the economy.
Yeah.
And the finance bill had promised them more taxes, increased taxes, charges and levies. And they resisted it on their own. So in my view, I do not believe that when we say we will not pay this odious debt, the Kenyan people will say we must pay it. What we'll be telling them is that what cost you to go out last time was this finance bill that was raising your charges, tax and levies to pay for this illegal debt. So this is a revolution. And this revolution is sweeping away all these legacy politicians. So whoever gets in there, in fact when Safina gets in there, we will not be getting in there and we expect the room to remain the same. We must drain the swamp. We must come up with very radical, drastic measures immediately to deal with the problems of the people. Because I can assure you, where I sit, anybody gets into office in Kenya today, if you cannot deal with the debt monster, by the 6th month, we'll be back to June 25th. They'll be saying we are coming to State House. Because even you, if you want to maintain the same political system that you say cannot allow it, you will be forced to come up with your own finance bill and increase the taxes while the economy is shrinking, you are trying to increase charges, taxes, and levies. People will come for you. As we are very clear from the beginning, we are not being elected there for a Christmas party. We are being elected there for a revolutionary agenda, to economically release the people of Kenya from the burden. And we've identified the chains that are hanging on their necks to be this debt. If we cannot do it, we have no business competing for political office. So that is the only promise. Otherwise, I may as well be setting up myself to be hung by the people of Kenya.
Professor, I feel like it's more or less what UDA, was or the Kenya Kwanza government was promising us before election last. That time they campaigned, because they campaigned on certain issues that Kenyans felt like hii ni yetu, boda boda, mama mboga, and the things that they mentioned at that particular point, bottom up, and people literally bought into that idea because people felt as though it's going to improve their pockets, the economy, their welfare. So if this is the one thing that can act, if we're going to transform the economy by 2.3 trillion overnight, isn't that overnight? Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that wakiingia hivi wakiekelea Biblia chini na ile sword chini. See, that is what you mean. Isn't that something that is worth checking out?
Is what, but I'm saying,
yeah.
How practical is it? It's more difficult than they think. It is. You see, why did the bottom-up thing fail? You think Ruto was deliberately lying?
But it worked.
He wasn't lying.
It worked to the point of voting.
I talked about it. I say, what David India and Kina Ruto are saying, if it was to work, you are to dismantle capitalism. Okay? Because if you are going to empower border riders and all those people, mama bogas, it meant they were able to have their own petrol stations and their own supermarkets and ultimately their own banks. So were you introducing a socialist order by dismantling capitalism?
Yeah.
It's bigger than they thought. So I don't blame them. They thought you could do it. Within the confines of capitalism, some things cannot happen. My friend Willis will also care to remember I said, so long as the structures that you are using, CT Muga, remember I've said the judiciary, there are the prisons, the police,
legislature,
all those institutions are meant to support capitalism.
Okay.
You touch one, they all come for you. Therefore, you say you are not doing things, people move to court. The courts block you. You do it by force, the police arrest you. They take you to prison. All these institutions are meant to support capitalism. You cannot touch one part and the rest keep quiet.
Okay.
They'll come for you. So it's not easy. It's doable, but within a strictly revolutionary order.
Willis, you mentioned that this is more or less the beginning of a revolution.
Yes.
Actually, I feel like it's already an ongoing process of revolution. How would you deal with the situation that Prof is bringing up? The judiciary, legislature, prisons, and so on. Yeah.
Last time when I was here, maybe I repeated for the benefit of Prof.
Yes.
I believe you're not going to do it just on one facet and leave the other. And part of the revolution, you look at the instruments of oppression that we have here, it's the police. The police will not remain intact, that they get orders from above. Our position is as Safina Party, at the command level at the division, people should elect their own OCPD.
The sheriff.
We are electing our OCPD. So that you hand power back to the people. When the Constitution talks about that the police should be subject to subordinate to civilian authority, that civilian authority will be the people of Kenya at an election going out to elect their OCPD at the divisional level, who is in charge of security in that division. So you are dismantling the structures. We are not going to just say we are doing this and that the support system that has supported this oppression continues. We are saying at every police station, we must have a civilian oversight board. If in a health center, we have health center boards. In every school here, we have a board of management. And those are service providers. The police is meant to be a service. How can the police still operate as a service without an oversight board that oversees a police station? We are going to say civilians constitute oversight boards for every police station that is responsible to oversight what the officers in that police station are doing. So we must dismantle this system. If we cannot do it, then we have no business offering ourselves for public office. I can as well continue being a private lawyer.
Yeah.
And surviving in that system.
In that capitalist
system. This one is about dismantling structures. And if there are Kenyans who believe in this change, that we want to really actualize the fruits of our liberation, economic liberation, you come to Safina. But if there are those who still think that these structures are so strong, they are so powerful, we cannot defeat them, you have legacy politics to continue with.
But Willis, if I understood the Prof, it's not that they cannot be dismantled. It is approaching them with the sense of reality of what they actually are. Because something that has been entrenched for as long as some of these systems have been entrenched, they become part and parcel of almost our national DNA.
Yes.
And it is not those who are practitioners and those who are determined to maintain that status quo who are our problem. The problem is this individual who is the sovereign, because they align with that system. They talk against it, but they actually align with that system. Call it the tyranny of habit. So if we cannot get these fellows to actually understand with clarity what it is that is being spoken of, I mean with clarity, the shift and the revolution comes in people willing to abandon the way they have understood the status quo and how they fit into it, because we fitted into it and we have found ways of surviving within it.
Yes.
So you're asking people to pull themselves from that particular system and to uproot. That in my mind is where the difficulty is. Why I say this is because from what I have observed of our politicians, they are very sensitive to the movements of the public. When they sense the public is moving in a certain direction, they tend to move with the public. When they sense they can get away with something, and what are they getting away from? From the public, they will try and get away with it. So the public, and they're understanding this concept and understanding the pain points, the point of realizing that what you're saying actually is the one thing that will bring this relief that they all seem to seek. Because figures confuse me. When you mention $1 billion, me, I'm actually confused. Sincerely, 9 zeros. I can't.
internalize.
You mention $1 trillion, you've lost me.
Completely.
You've lost me. It's now an academic subject. You might as well be discussing quantum physics, which I don't even understand at all. But if this is something that the Mwananchi can actually understand and realize, actually this thing is not that complicated. It has been explained why what we refer to as the Kibaki model was useful, with one simple example. When free education was offered, what isn't said but is clearly understood, some money that you were using for education is now freed up.
Stimulus.
Yes, so your disposable income is immediately increased, so you're able to do more. Now, you tweak the financial system by not borrowing from it, and so now the banks have to go to their original function and business of buying and selling money from individuals. They will actually hawk it. Now the individual is able to get even more capital. Suddenly there's more money, and the stimulus you speak of is set in motion, and we see the economy moving. Now that has to be tied up with what you're saying. When you talk trillion, haki.
But again, you see, Muga, what you're saying is correct. That one can be done. Say, we as Safina Party, when we take over, we shall not borrow. Not domestic, not foreign.
International.
We will not borrow. And we will do that. The moment you stop borrowing at the domestic level, government stops competing with business people. And the credit is immediately available to business people, and that will spur economic growth. You'll get more taxes. You can even service the other debts, which you might say you don't want to pay, but I believe at some you'll continue paying.
You only said the illegal ones.
Yes.
The legal ones will be paid.
Yes, let me tell you this. I want to show you how difficult these things are. You need to be with the people to dismantle those structures. And the Muga has told you, people it's in the DNA of people somehow that these things are necessary. I'll give you a good example. When we were working towards a new constitution, Kenyans were very clear about the provincial administration, the chief. We were so sure. If there's anything we were sure of, it was the removal of the chief. Now, so we got to Bomas and talked about it and put it down. But when the rubber was meeting the road, we are now facing Kenyans in a referendum. If we remove chiefs from there, this bill will not go through. The same people who had been, like what you are saying, same people who had been against the chiefs will be mobilized by the chiefs to reject that constitutional change. So it's not as easy as you might think. The police you want to dismantle, you think they'll just sit and let you dismantle them? They will not. The institutions you want to dismantle to bring about that change. Inbuilt in those institutions is resistance, self-preservation, protection. They are aware they are not very good, and people might come for them. So they have self-preservation as part of their existence.
The true.
Yes. So it's not very easy for you to dismantle these structures.
You know, Prof.
If Willis today I say, okay, you are a young man with a lot of energy and serious brains, and everybody knows, I give you one sector and I tell you dismantle the cartels in that sector. Then you'll come back to this studio and tell Manyora and CT and Nani, hey, kumbe you knew. These things are not easy. I know, I've been dealing with some right now.
You're dealing with a cartel at the moment.
They are not easy.
Prof, you've been dealing with cartel.
My friend, I give him a hard time. My friend.
But you see, Prof, we are not going to leave ourselves.
My friend Kashaga went to the coffee sector. He realized it was not easy.
You know, Prof, we are not going to delude ourselves that it's a walk in the park.
Yeah.
We are not simply saying that it will be, we walk in there and they'll clap for us, hallelujah, hosanna, dismantle us. We know it's a fight, it's a resistance. That's why we are calling this an economic revolution.
It
so
has to be a
we anticipate.
revolution.
No, it's economic revolution.
I want to be your consultant.
Let me just finish. Let me finish. Let me finish my train of thought.
Yeah.
We are not expecting the system to sit back and watch. That is why we are calling it an economic revolution. And a revolution, it's a contestation, it's a struggle. The system you are trying to uproot will fight back. That is why for us, our greatest stock are the people. Once the people own this conversation and they see it as their quest, there is no system that can surmount the energy of the people when it comes to people's issues.
Now you are getting it.
Right?
Now you are getting it.
And if the people were to buy, let me say, when the people will have bought this, because I believe they've bought it, to the extent that we saw the numbers that came out last year and this year, not mobilized by any politician,
but themselves.
Not mobilized along tribal lines, but on issues that even Ruto's response has been to start holding these economic empowerment programs. This is purely a direct response to what the young people had posed. That now we are discussing the economy. We are now moving everybody to discuss issue-based politics, not personalities. That to me is a success. And that gives me faith in the people of Kenya. That now we are ready for battle with this system. And we are not saying we are going to ignore the political. That's why we are now organizing a political party, for example, as a Safina. We are organizing ourselves as a political party and a political movement. As a vessel to help us in this quest to dismantle the system. That system is so weak. The young people have tested it. We've stretched it. We can tell how far it can go. And when we're in office, I assure you, Prof,
I'll be part of that system.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you going to vote for your sheriff?
I hope they will not. I hope they will not. They will not.
You imagine. We cannot deny you. Hope we can deny you. You've made a great contribution to this country. You cannot ignore it in terms of opening up the public space for discussion.
I wanted to tell you this as free consultation.
This one I don't pay.
I know Kenyans. You pay crooks. Straightforward people you can't pay. You saw even Kina Uhuru were going to get consultants to come and tell them things Muga and Manyora would have told them for free over breakfast at experts Kina Blair and what have you. Now I hear this government is spending $1 billion in the US over things City and I can now you see. So I'll do it for free because you don't pay straightforward people. You are talking about very good things. But you want to reach Kenyans through the mind, through the head, let me put it that way. You must organize through politics. You are talking economics instead of talking politics. Your organization must be a political organization. You must create a political movement that then brings the economic miracle. But you people, you are talking about an economic miracle at the level of the intellect. It cannot succeed. Not at all. You cannot reason with people about things. You can only mobilize people the way Mao Zedong did to bring about the Chinese Revolution. In other words, the people must be mobilized. And the mobilization of the people is a political issue, not an economic issue.
That I agree.
Don't pay me.
I'll not pay you for that. But as I said, the greatest political mobilization in the history of the earth in Kenya took place last year. And I take hope in the fact that mobilization was based on the economy, not on politics, as Prof says it. So we are building onto that. The Kenyan people are already there. When you say that these things we are discussing are only appealing
by the way,
let me finish.
I'm doing free consultation.
No, I agree with you.
Prof, let him finish his thoughts.
My thought. Now you keep disrupting me. And it's
okay, continue.
Sometimes people always assume that the masses, the Kenyan people, are not fully aware or are not intelligent enough to comprehend these complex issues. I've been on the ground, and I can tell you that these issues that we think are complex, Kenyans understand them. Even the question of debt, they understand this question of debt. They are now discussing the economy. Even old grandmothers in the village can discuss with you the issue of cost of living. Because they know when I bought a packet of cooking oil at 50 bob yesterday. Today I've gone back, it is 80 shillings. They are discussing it in their own language. And that is why, to me, I believe the greatest mobilization in Kenya, in the history of the earth, took place on the economy. If the masses didn't understand it, they would not have self-mobilized like they did last year and this year on those questions. So the ground is right. The people are already discussing the economy. It is now that we are saying, let's now talk political movements, political formations to address that question. And, Prof,
yes,
the arc is ready.
The arc is ready.
The arc is ready.
Prof, I feel like, perhaps legacy politicians and legacy political ideals are the ones that have probably put us on these particular issues that we're having right now and we're fighting since last year.
Yes.
Perhaps if we have that shift that he's talking about, and not just for, Safina party, but any other party that actually comes with those kinds of ideals, are you trying to say that that is completely impossible? Like, we cannot have a shift in this country just because it hasn't probably happened anywhere else?
No, it has happened in many other places, in some other places. What I'm saying is not as simple as Safina party is trying to put it. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying you need to have political organization.
Yes.
You cannot have a conversation with the people of Kenya on matters of debt and the economy and etc. and hope you'll realize change. That is far-fetched. But I also wanted to tell him when he didn't give me the chance to offer free services, is that it is quite possible to organize and carry the people of this Kenya into one clean soup of a revolution. It's quite possible. The only problem I have with the politicians of this country, including my friend Willis,
No, they are two different politicians. They are legacy politicians.
They think, whether a legacy or other, they think it is easy. They think they will just talk themselves into it and it works. They can't work. It requires two things. One, very serious thinking. And that serious thinking will lead you to the second thing, which is serious organization and mobilization. But begin with very serious thinking. I don't have a very big brain, but I am sure I have the answers. I know how it can be done.
Okay.
If some politicians were to invite City Muga and Manyora to help them, I am telling you, even if Ruto were to hear what I know, he will be very worried.
City actually said that.
I know what I can do to mobilize these young people in this country. And then you can do the things my friend Willis is saying.
Yeah.
But them, they think they will discuss it at an intellectual level. Nobody will follow you. Only Muga and I will follow you. But we only carry 2 votes. And you need like 10 million.
Prof, is it possible that if, through the miracle you're talking about, they happen to capture power as a Safina party?
Yes.
And once they get there, start implementing some of this, very radical changes they're talking about. Because I am almost very certain that they shall have the people behind them.
Yes.
Fine, judiciary might come down on them. Legislature the same. But once you have 50 million Kenyans behind you, like they did in the last year and in this year's protest, you want to tell me that we cannot achieve that thing that they're probably...
That's exactly what I'm saying. Have the people with you.
Yes.
But you cannot reason to get the people with you the way Safina is trying to do.
Yes.
You need to mobilize
politically.
For people to be with you, for you to achieve that. But let's just say you somehow, there is Jimmy Wanjigi and Willis on one side, there is Manyora and the City Muga on the other side. I think you are on top of the ticket, let me be the running mate.
He actually said he wouldn't advise the government.
There is Ruto and somebody else, there is Gachagua, all these people are there.
Yeah.
And then there's a context. And then you sell your ideas, you are Safina, and then you win. You become president, you become
DP.
deputy president. I know you will not forget me. The two of you are my close friends. I want to assure you there's nothing you'll do. You can't change this country.
Prof is a comfortable.
You cannot change this
politician.
country.
He's actually a legacy.
Politician. No, you cannot.
That's why he has operated.
You cannot change. The structures are. You can't dismantle those structures merely by being in State House.
Prof.
That's what I'm saying. It's very difficult.
Prof, my main problem with you.
That's why I've always advocated for a national conversation that will produce a national charter.
Prof.
That national charter will answer the question of why are we where we are instead of where we ought to be.
Look at Prof's proposed solution.
Yeah.
What have we not had in this country with the legacy politicians? How many national conversations have we had? We've had all of them.
We've never had the one.
No. We've had this conversation, these dialogues from Boma's process, the pre-Boma's process.
Not the one I'm having.
To NADCO, to now CG, BBI, BBG. We've had them. But they are all the same. That to me is just the language of legacy politicians.
Yeah.
To numb the masses. You think something is going on when nothing is happening. So you must adopt a radical approach. Deal with the system radically. You're not going to talk yourself into a revolution. You think that you're going to have a conversation and achieve economic rights. The same system is talking about that has captured the economic sector, and they will negotiate, you'll dialogue with them to hand over to you power and to empower the people of Kenya. It will not happen. It must be a radical shift.
Yeah.
And that radical shift will not take place in any boardroom. It can only take place in a ballot, not a boardroom. But Prof is advocating for let's have a boardroom conversation, a conference setup.
I didn't say that.
It will not work.
I didn't say that.
The discussion.
I did not.
No, Willis, finish what you're saying. You haven't finished what you're saying.
Yeah, what I was saying is that what as we are agitating for, what we are calling for, what we are marketing to the people, it's a radical shift that will be actualized at the ballot. The young people showed us that they are so impatient They're even willing to do it outside the ballot, even outside the conference rooms. They can do it on the streets. And if you look at those numbers, no one can ignore it.
You can't, but even when you're on the streets, it's a formation. It is a form of a gathering. It may not be what you call your quintessential boardroom meeting. But the discussion about a change and a revolution involves a cognitive process. For people to get to a point where they have internalized this, and the process of what they need to overcome to actually get to a point where they realize, okay, this is what we really want. The demonstrations of last year were a good point where you kick off that process. These young people seem to have gone through this cognitive process and figured, we know where our pain point is, where our problem is, and we want to do this. But the larger population of Kenya, unfortunately, if you're older, you'll be jaded. Because you've heard, you've seen, and you're asking, what's going to be the difference here? How is it that this is going to change? Because it is just as the legacy politicians have words, so do the new politicians like yourself. It's words that we're hearing. And you are telling us things that I could tell you, this is theory. Because one, you talk about change, yet in a Kenyan environment. The first thing you're going to be dealing with is the cognitive process of people's mind. First of all, let's look at a simple concept like history. What is the political history that that particular community deal with, and what is that they consider to be important to them? Just history. Then you're going to look at the identity. How does this person, it's identity politics that I'm bringing in here. How does this person identify themselves within the greater confines of our politics? Then you're going to ask, what are my immediate survival needs? The cognitive process is where these things are looked at, these things are sorted out in the mind, and the messaging becomes key. The concept of odious debt is an excellent concept. As a concept, the means by which this message is driven home is not by the constant mentioning of it. No. That the debt exists has been understood. How it relates to me, the interpretation, that's the next phase.
Breaking it down, yes.
Yes, and then beyond breaking it down, now the implementation. Now it could be a trade secret which you don't want to talk about on air, but there is that little detail of how will you go about it. This enables the cognitive process that people have to arrive at a point and say, actually this thing is actually possible. As of now, in the mind, it is nice to hear, but it is actually not possible. And in that respect, the Prof is right, because you want to change. Real revolution is not in the streets. Those young people were there because their minds had changed. It's in the mind. Now, to get people to that position, not where they see it and say, we're changing, but where it is consistent and nothing moves them away from it. Your identity will sway you. Your identity in our political scheme will sway you. Your history with our politics will sway you. Then your needs will sway you. How do you align these things so that when the mind approaches this matter of change, they realize, actually, there's no option. This is the only way out.
That is now the political campaign.
I'd like to believe, and that is why I'll think like I'm, a common monent, because that's exactly who I am. I'd like to believe that Safina probably hasn't started their campaign officially to tell us exactly how some of these things will be achieved. And I also like to believe that's why the United Opposition also hasn't given us something substantial.
There's something like the United Opposition.
Yes. Akina Kalonzo, Martha, DAP, akina watu wote, akina Gachagua.
The loyal, they call themselves the loyal opposition.
Okay,
so the legacy opposition. L stands for legacy.
Yeah. Right. So I'd like to believe that there's a campaign period that is actually coming up, where we shall actually be given these manifestos by all these particular political leaders, so that we can actually get something, so that we can make that decision when the time comes. Now, perhaps you can demystify that, because you had just started talking about the campaign period. Yes. Is there a proper strategy? Because I believe that Kenyans have seen it all at this particular point.
No, they haven't.
Bro, we have.
They haven't.
Aki tumeona.
Believe me, they haven't.
That is why there is a bloody revolution.
Let me tell you why I believe Kenyans have seen it. I remember in July 2022, with Jimmy Wanjigi, Safina, Jimmy had done a forensic audit of our debt situation, and he was launching the report. I'm telling you, that was 1 month to the elections. No one was interested. In fact, he had to go and buy advertisement space for him to get media coverage. Today, debt is very casually discussed almost every day on the front pages of all the media houses. Whereas 2-3 years ago, people are even telling us that's such a narrow agenda. What are you talking about? Kenyans can't understand those concepts. That cannot.
July of 2022.
2022. July 2022, 1 month to the elections.
Yes.
And we were talking about the ODS debt. It was a concept that no one could even relate to. They didn't even see how it connects to the elections that were coming. And we were saying, in fact, that was more like our exit from that contest, because we were saying we had done this in preparation for the elections, but because Chebukati had done his thing, let's share this information publicly. So he released this saying, this is the state of the nation. And the person who is going to be elected, if you don't confront this debt monster, you will face a revolution from the people. In 2022, you were speaking, July. He repeated the same sentiments in 2023, December. In January 2024, at our former Secretary General's funeral, he said the same things. Today, the revolution came in June. Today, Kenyans are discussing it. So sometimes some of these ideas, when it is still at the formative stages, it may appear like such a far-fetched issue. It does not connect. How many times were we told, too narrow an agenda? This the economy. The people cannot relate to the economy. You must mobilize politically. People are even telling us, organize along tribal lines. That's the easiest. Right? Go and become a kigogo in your tribe, then you come and talk to the nation. But that's legacy politics. Right now, those economic questions, you cannot open the first 3 pages of any newspaper. You cannot finish any news bulletin without discussing the economy. And Kenyans have owned it. Now is when we can go back to political formations. And the campaigns will come.
Yeah.
That is when you'll see, I have faith, and I may be naive, but I have faith that for the first time, Kenyans will be engaging on their politics based on what is your economic promise. Not just a promise, but a tangible promise. Is it believable? Is it workable? What is the commitment? Where is our take home? When you say I'm not paying Odia's debt, hey, it's not just a promise. From which date? Hey, don't just tell us you're not paying Odia's debt. From which date? When Safina Party we say we are not going to charge VAT on fuel, from which date are we not paying? They are going to question us, test us. They are going to debate with us. And Prof, I assure you, in the fullness of time, you will see the quality of the political contestation we are going to have in the coming elections. It will be far much enriched than the last one. The Hustler Dynasty narrative started that idea-based politics, issue-based politics. It is now going to be refined better in the coming elections. Because they said it's Hustler versus Dynasty, they got into office, and when you say Kenyans buy it, they are lied to. When the Hustler Dynasty, the Hustler got to office, he failed on his economic promise. The same people whom he lied to took to the streets to cancel him.
Yep.
So there are consequences. Already we know there are consequences to political lies. The people can always come for you. So in the next contestation, they will say now that last time you were lied to, this time we want to see tangibles. They'll debate with you. And whoever they are going to choose, and it will be Safina, they will hold us to account. They will hold us to a higher level of account. That if we don't deliver, in 6 months they're not feeling any impact. Why? These Kenyans are impatient.
Prof,
yes.
Tell us about that laugh.
You know, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
You see,
yeah.
These things my friend is saying, they are very good things. But within the context of politics, they are very difficult to achieve. Yeah. You cannot have a conversation with the people in politics. You need to mobilize people. Even when we talk of the Gen Z revolution, it's not about the finance bill per se. It's not about the economy in terms of we are discussing. No, the young men are looking at a future that has no promise for them, and looking at the people responsible for this mess. That is politics. It is not about if you increase this tax, then we are not feeling well, or if you add this. No, it's a whole big thing to do with the politics, about life, about where we are, where we ought to be, who is responsible for this mess. That was a Gen Z revolution, a reset button. And therefore, it cannot work for you, Willis, if you think people will be discussing the economy and the foreign debt. It can't work. And you see, even Ruto did not lie. To say that Ruto lied to people is also to miss the point. There's no way Ruto lied to anybody. Ruto thought these things could work. Then he discovered they wouldn't.
Genuinely thought.
Yes, he thought they could work.
Then
realized that there's no way Ruto lied to anybody. He didn't lie. Even when you listen to the president today, there are things he still believes he can do. It's not lying. He believed in the hustler thing. He realized it cannot work. To some extent, he realized. But there's an extent to which he thinks it can work. Even when I listen to him, there are things that can't work, but he thinks they can work. So it's not a question of lying. He never lied to anybody. It is not as easy as you might think.
Let me ask this question.
Unless you dismantle the structures.
The way Kenyans understand issues, what would you say is the mental model that Kenyans have? And I'm speaking generically here, where you can say a Kenyan looks at a concept like, say, corruption. This is how they look at it. Or they look at it as ethnic favoritism when it comes to appointments, and they interpret it in a certain way. Or they look at something like poverty. Why I'm referring to this is this. Messages will be interpreted. When you first deliver a message, first of all, that message will be received and it will be filtered through, I mentioned it earlier, the need that somebody has on that day. Okay? Just fundamental, without anything else. How does this relate to me directly? So it's selective attention. When they've gone through that, they'll now go to the interpretation that I was speaking of. Because at the end of the day, what you're saying is the interpretation. We saw these young people in the streets. We are talking politics. You are talking change. The history of this planet shows us that the changes that have come about, whether you're talking about Chile, it doesn't matter what you're talking about, the pain point with fuel, whether you're talking about Egypt, the issue with baladi bread, the interpretation and the movements then that followed, it may have started as something that had an economic nature. It became political. Because the moment there's a mass movement of people against a particular issue, there'll be people speaking on behalf of these masses. Our interpretation of that immediately is political. Because those who are in power will immediately be threatened. And the power I'm speaking about, those who are in political positions, because that movement will immediately pose a threat. Now, how do you get that mental position that I'm speaking of? I'm focusing on this mental thing and I'm not moving away from it because the odious debt message is an exceedingly important message.
All right. So I want us to take a short break, get into the news. When you do return, of course, the conversation continues. It's about legacy politicians, legacy politics actually, versus the showdown come 2027. We are with Willis Otieno. He's a lawyer, also deputy leader of Safina Party. We're also with Professor Herman Manyora. He's a political analyst. Don't go too far. We'll be right back.
Radio generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Council of Governors Chairperson and Wajir Governor Hamid Abdullahi has criticized the growing trend of impeachment motions against county chiefs, warning that the practice has become politically driven rather than a tool of accountability. In an interview on Tuesday, September 2nd, Abdullahi said governors remain vulnerable because their offices lack political protection, unlike other leaders who enjoy the backing of political parties. He noted that even governors belonging to majority parties are often left exposed when their own parties decline to shield them during removal attempts.
We don't even have a threshold law for impeachment. What is the threshold for of abuse of office? Gross misconduct, violating the Constitution. Even lawyers don't agree as to whether impeachment is a legal process or a political process. A lot of these impeachments have got to do with the toxic politics in our counties. There are factional struggles, there are succession plan issues, right? It's not nearly always about mismanagement. And this is why out of 11 cases, I think only, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4 succeeded at the Senate.
2 women have been charged in court with possession of fake $560,000, which is equivalent to 70 million Kenya shillings. Kamar Salad Abdi and Ifra Ali were charged in Nairobi court for possession of forged currency under Section 359 of the Penal Code. Arrested on August 28, 2025 in Kilimani sub-county, police recovered $560,000 in fake USD 100 notes. They pleaded not guilty before Magistrate Ben Makikube, who set a bond of 500,000 Kenya shillings or cash bail of 400,000 Kenya shillings. The pre-trial is scheduled for September 18th, 2025.
All right, so since bail has not been in a way challenged, I also take cognizance of the fact that the first accused person has confirmed has been unwell. It has also been established that the second accused person has an infant child that we're told is 2 months old. So doing the best I can in balancing both the interests of their liberty and that of ensuring that they attend court, I'll issue the following bail and bond terms. Obviously, cognizance of the nature of the offense, which is quite grave. I cannot underscore that fact. So I'll issue the following bond terms. So each one of them will be admitted to a bond of Kenya shillings 500,000.
President William Ruto has said that from next week, the government will pay Social Health Authority contributions for 1.5 million Kenyans unable to afford them. Speaking during an engagement with grassroots leaders from Turkana County at State House, Nairobi on Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, Ruto said the initiative is aimed at ensuring access to healthcare without pushing vulnerable families into financial ruin. The president reiterated that no one should be compelled to sell property in order to cater for medical expenses.
So, from next week, God willing, from next week, we are now going to pay for the 1.5 million Kenyans who have no capacity to pay. We will pay for them. So we have changed. And I am very happy that hata kama watu wananipigia kelele wale wanalipa zaidi, lakini that is how we are going to have a nation where nobody has to sell their property. Mtu asiuze shamba, mtu asiuze ng'ombe, ati anaenda kulipa bili ya hospitali. Na ndio sasa hapo kwa SHA tumesema kila mtu ajiandikishe.
President Donald Trump says the U.S. has carried out a strike against a drug-carrying vessel in the Southern Caribbean, killing 11 narco-terrorists. He posted on social media that Tuesday's U.S. military operation had targeted members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. Trump said the vessel was international waters and was transporting illegal narcotics bound for the U.S. The Trump administration has increased military and political pressure against the Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in recent weeks. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga.
radio. But now there is Radio Generations, the people's breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The people's breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
Welcome back to Radio Generation. CT has just said that there's someone who cannot be rescued. I'll let you know who that person is, perhaps in a different forum. But he has also insisted there's another one who can be rescued, hiyo tutaongea wakati wake ikifika. But welcome back to Radio Generation. My name is Mungala Mbuvi. It is now 7 minutes past 9 o'clock. If you're just joining us, welcome. You can also find us online on rgk.co.ke. On YouTube, you can watch us live on Radio Generation Kenya. That's the name of the channel. Nairobi tunapatikana on 88.8 and Mombasa it is 90.7. Mwambaji, welcome. We're having a conversation around legacy politics and the succession come 2027. In studio we have Professor Herman Manyora. He's a political analyst. We also have lawyer Willis Otieno. He is deputy party leader of Safina Party. Gentlemen, welcome once again. Let's pick up from where we left off because there's something City you are explaining for the benefit of those who've just joined in. Perhaps you can recap on that so that we can pick it up from there.
I was talking about a cognitive process. It's actually meaning making. Meaning, there's this concept that you're being told about, but to make meaning of it. Then I talked about selective attention, meaning the information doesn't land on a blank slate. It lands on a brain that has things it's already processing, and usually it has to do with immediacy, my immediate needs. So when somebody hears something, they have to relate to it with that immediacy and say, okay, I have this and this needs and I have this and this. Then they move to interpreting it. Now interpreting it, that's where all these other factors of our identity, our history and what have you come into being. Because this is the process, the filtering process this information goes through. So when you have a message, a political message, which has the potency of the message of the odious debt, how do you filter this so that given the history that we have as a nation, and given our political formations as we have them, and the priorities that these different formations have, how does this message resonate with the people? Because the thing that we have as a commonality is the pain of not having money. That one is a commonality. Everybody feels that pain. Even those who have money feel the pain, because to make more money, other people need to have more money also for your money to continue increasing. If they don't, you will also suffer. Okay? Now, how then do you get people to understand in commonality and in unison that something as simple as debt, which was procured within our laws and which was intended for development, because that's what we're allowed to borrow for, and that money never got used for whatever it was borrowed for. Now, what then is the responsibility of the taxpayer? Who is the person who's paying this debt? What is his responsibility towards such a debt? That is the narrative of the odious debt. And then comes interpretation. 2.3 trillion is the amount that you'd save immediately. It is just 200 billion short of our revenue that we collect every year. So essentially you're saying that you will immediately double your revenue. Now when you double your revenue, can you imagine the things you'd be able to do? Now, how does this message get to be understood? In the same way the message of free education, in the manner it was understood, where it was clear that the moment is free education, meaning free, meaning you don't pay, whatever you were then paying, you now have.
Yeah.
And if you have it, you can spend it. And then the government took another step. This is the Kibaki era. Made sure they were not borrowing domestically as the Uhuru government and the Ruto government have been doing. So the banks have to go to the individuals to sell their business. Suddenly people have more money. Now, this nonsense that IMF and World Bank keep telling you about austerity measures, it is utter nonsense. Somebody is limping, they need something to work, and then you're telling them, reduce what you have. How on earth is that going to help you? we need money, and you're telling us, no, you need to have less money, because that's what taxes mean. So how is the economy going to be jump-started? And these austerity measures that they keep preaching, where have they actually worked? The point is, more money needs to come into the economy, and when it does, then you'll see the changes. And there's this message of what you said that seemed to tell you that actually this one, before you go on to others, let's just make this money available, work with it, and then see what, these are the things we're talking about. They'll actually be a lot easier. But so long as we're paying these debts, and nobody's talking about what we need to do about it, then our position actually will not change. But how is that message supposed to be understood so that everybody understands it well? That's what I was saying.
Yeah, and I believe every politician who's going to come going forward in terms of asking for power in 2027 will need to do something that in biology is called feedback mechanism, whereby imefika mahali we are now saturated with the problems that we currently have. So now we'll just need someone to come and sweep it. And I believe radical ideas such as those ones being presented by Safina and probably any other political party.
Like which one?
I said probably any other political party. I don't know. I hope Wiper comes up with an idea, because we need options. Safina have already presented theirs so far. Wiper, I don't know if they have something. ODM watatuambia. Na wale wengine wote. DCP, we are yet to see what they will tell us. I hope someone will give us alternatives that actually want that will work. Yes.
People want power, and you don't get power by coming up with ideas. Sifuna addressed this very well, Edwin Sifuna, Secretary General of ODM.
Yeah.
Some people will add the embattled Secretary General of ODM. He addressing Ruto and answering, he told Ruto, look here, don't ask us what we shall do. Even you, when you came with a slogan, hustler. We are also coming with one term. We will talk about what we will do when we are in State House. That is how useless this thing is. It's about power. It's about how you get power. I've had very serious conversations with some politicians in this country, and I've told them, you miss the point. Whatever good ideas you have, you must first get power. And then we pray that once you have the power, you'll be able to implement the good things. But trying to talk about good things before you get power, they will, in fact, stand in your way of getting power. Now, without power, what you have been saying are just dreams. So, Safina Party, under my friend Jimmy, and he's running with my very good friend and my son, Willis, you have to get power, state power. Now, with the state power, begin telling us the good things and implementing the good things. So the challenge is always in how do you get power, state power, under what you call legacy politics. They know how to play around with us and then get state power. Are you coming with something different other than the usual games they employ to get power? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Is it possible through having a conversation around the economy? No, it's not. I've repeated this. You could just buy me tea. Don't pay me. After this, just go and buy me tea.
You know, Professor, I hear you. But there's something you had said earlier, which is our reference point. And that was the term reset. In a reset. So we have the legacy political brand, and we have the new politics after the recent moment posed by the young people. And for me, where we are going to do it the economic way. And I listened to City very well, very keenly. He's seen what the message is. His challenge is, how do we make it the issue that informs the political movement, so that everybody owns it at their level? He sees this as the solution to this immediate problem. That is now the campaign. Now that's a challenge to us. How do we turn this to be the campaign? And Professor, I assure you, if you keep analyzing politics using the legacy political history, we're in a new territory, we're in a new era. And that is our target. When we turn this to become the campaign issue, and Kenyans own it, no legacy politician will survive the avalanche. This will be the true Fagia vote. Because right there, yes.
Willis, don't underestimate the capacity of legacy politicians to turn and change with the time. Don't.
They can adapt.
Don't. Do you remember the Kasarani meeting just before the advent of change that brought about that Section 2A. Remember that one?
Yes.
All the people who spoke before the president in unison saying, synonymously speaking about the same thing. Kani baba na mama na auntie na grandmother. Nini na nini na nini na nini na nini. In fact, moya kama ni wewe. Everybody.
Until he stood.
Then he stood. And he said he had heard. And then he said, I think you know exactly what happened. I think what we'll do, in that raspy voice of his, we'll have this Section 2A. There was a moment of silence for some 2 seconds. Pin drop silence. And then,
again. And they all became...
For me, that was a revelation like none other. I was watching it. It's like, are these the same people who have just been speaking?
2 minutes ago.
So you actually think that when politicians who know how to measure the mood of people and the thinking of people, because that's their bread and butter, that when they see change in a certain direction, they won't even jump to hijack the very thing.
Of course, that's a potential. That's good. If we make it the issue, that will be good. The more the merrier. But more importantly, they will have turned politics from the... Because what we are doing here, number one, in my view, the greatest gain we'll have as a people of Kenya is when we move away from personality-based politics to issue-based. If we are going to be driven by issues, and more so if it's an economic issue, to me that will be a success to the Kenyan nation.
You know how long it takes? Look at the history of how it has worked in other countries. You know, to challenge the two main parties in the UK, for people like Steele, I think he was Raila's friend, right?
He was Jaramogi's friend, actually.
Jaramogi's friend, and then Raila also. For them to get even a small, tiny recognition in the UK politics took quite a number of years. It's quite good to come up with ideas. You'll go everywhere, Germany, where, you know, parties that come and are built around ideas, Green Party, what have you. Qualitative politics is what you are talking about. Qualitative politics find itself in a strange arena, because politics does not like logic and reason. Politics is irrational. You deal with the most irrational part of human beings. They don't want to think. People don't think politics. People feel politics. That's why it has been said by other people before me that you campaign in poetry. And then when the time to govern, you do it in prose. you want to campaign in prose. I don't know whether now you will govern in poetry.
People will have understood.
When we were growing up, not you people, you have to know how to speak to a girl.
Yes.
It was an art.
It was not.
It was not a simple thing. It was an art.
And even letters and the way letters were
written, you have to know how to write.
My friend, you needed even to know how to sign off that letter in a way that is absolutely romantic and unchallenged.
Poetry. Reaching men through their hearts has never been an easy thing. Never has it been easy.
In fact, let me ask you the question. Were you at a time when you used to write letters?
No.
Box?
Of course.
P.O. Box Niagas.
Of course
yes,
not.
You did.
No,
workers, yes.
You did.
Yeah, we wrote letters.
You?
We wrote letters.
You wrote letters. How did you sign off? This prospective lady that you wanted to woo to enter.
Listen, didn't
how
write that.
would you sign
You are
off?
torturing them. They are not there. Leave them alone.
Professor, we are not as young as you. As we look.
Like this guy, he never lived through a time even before a telephone. Amekuwa tu akiwa kijana
Anaona simu.
primary school aliingia na simu.
Yes.
Sasa unamwambia
Hapana. How young do you guys think I am?
I have stayed a few days before phones.
Let me mention a signing
After
off that was
okay.
popular in my time. A gentleman writes a letter to a lady, okay? Post box, okay? Sealed with a lick because a case won't stick. Is that poetry or is it not poetry?
It is poetry.
So Safina Party, and today I have advised them. I know it's for free, but in consideration of what I have said, ex gratia payment of just tea.
You need to
From
get
here,
tea.
you go and buy us breakfast. Look here. Do not go to the shores of Lake Victoria. And it has been said again. I think it was being said about Kibaki.
Yes.
Don't go on the shores of Lake Victoria and try to talk to the fishermen about how fishing is not benefiting them. You are going to make it beneficial. People, middlemen are coming to take their fish for free. We will build you coolers. When you leave, another crook comes. He just talks and he gets all the votes. You are telling fishermen about the rational things, about the economic miracle you can make happen along the shores of Lake Victoria to enrich the people, to make them benefit from marine life around them. They don't listen to that. They want politics. Go and dance. Go and sloganeer.
There was a change in 2002 when Kenya elected President Kibaki.
Yes.
The same way there was a change in 2022 when Kenyans elected President Ruto. What is so difficult about there being a paradigm shift or a shift or whatever you want to call it, and Kenyans elect a leader who is actually going to bring that revolution that we are talking about?
That's what I said.
Yeah.
You organize politically. Let me use very simple, even unfitting words. You make people drunk with the politics of the day. So that in 202 they are just saying rainbow, 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 unbogable, unbogable. If you ask them what is unbogable, Moi yote yawezekana bila Moi. So what was the logic there? And Moi was going nowhere. And I kept telling my colleagues that Moi is going nowhere. Kanu is still there. This Kibaki is a stopgap president to wait for Uhuru to mature to become president. And it happened. There is nothing. There was no reasoning. But yote yawezekana bila
Moi.
I was at Uhuru Park when they were swearing in Kibaki. Objects were flying over my head because I was at the front there to hit Moi. That is real. It's not fiction. I was right there. And therefore, in simple English, you cannot mobilize through the mind, through the intellect. You have to mobilize people to be drunk with the politics of the time. Usually, and it's a very stupid way of doing things, usually is identifying somebody and identifying him as a person responsible for all your problems. You get it?
Yeah.
Around Mount Kenya, Ruto successfully portrayed Uhuru as that enemy of the people, responsible for all the death of their business as business people. So, this man must join forces with people who might be thinking Ruto is the enemy and paint him as the enemy.
Herman, can I interject just briefly? Yeah?
Actually, I've finished.
No. The painting Uhuru as the enemy would not have been effective if he had not endorsed Raila.
Yes.
And this then introduces a completely different discussion.
Yes.
Before that time and even during the endorsement and thereafter, there were those who were of the theoretical thinking that it was a setup. It seemed very far-fetched that Ruto and Uhuru had planned this.
Yes.
Okay? But then history tells you that for the longest time, Raila was somebody whose process in getting votes from central Kenya was going to hit a very low glass ceiling. It would never really be a very high ceiling. Now, there are those who argue that isn't true. Now, the truth about politics is often disappeared, if I may use a Kenyan term, when an election process takes place. So the process of now using your mind to actually analyze what actually happened over time and the enduring debate. See, and what runs roughshod over this is the thinking and the narrative for the longest time that Central Kenya don't vote for anybody other than their own. They voted in Ruto. So that narrative dented. 2002, another narrative was dented. A Luo will not vote for a Kikuyu and vice versa. The Luos voted for the Kikuyu. Narrative. Okay? But it didn't take us long to go back to factory settings. Okay? How then, given what this current president set in motion, bringing in issues, how does one build on that with issues that people can actually relate to. But unfortunately, people don't relate to hard concepts. The cognitive process I was talking about is tackled easier by sloganeering. It is tackled a lot easier by songs. It is tackled a lot easier with discussions in your mother tongue. It is tackled much easier by narratives that already meet the standards that have been set. Our own, our term. These are the things that pull people. So how do you dismantle this? Because that again, I'm back to the question about this, because what Professor Manyora is talking about is the reality of how our people relate to politics.
But with a rider that it can be changed.
Yes.
It can
be changed.
I'm not saying it can't be changed. It can be changed. The only thing I've been saying since morning, since I started here, is that it's not as easy as people might think.
Okay.
And number two, I have not seen any evidence to convince me something is being done. Maybe we need to wait until you get to a point where my friend Willis will begin doing something. Then you'll say, oh, kumbe we were running ahead of time.
Prof, did you see any evidence?
I've not seen any evidence.
No, Vance, did you see any evidence prior to June 25th that Kenyans could self-mobilize and unite on an issue? Nobody saw that evidence.
Even the NIS was caught.
Everybody.
Even if you were told it could happen, you would not have believed it.
I would have dismissed it. So, I hear where Prof is coming from. He's cynical and he's seeking comfort in the past. Yeah, that is the known. The known. What we are dealing with is the future. They are known. They are known. And in the fullness of time, so these are politics.
Yeah.
You know me, I've never been elected as an MCA or an MP or even contested for this position. Yeah, and now I'm aiming for the top.
I know.
Yeah. So I can't use the traditional modes of getting there. But it's true, we must break that chain now politically. We've done the economic bit.
Yes.
Kenyans are now aware. Economy now informs part of our political discussion. For the first time, I'm not listening to too much of tribal politics. People saying we maybe a part in the so-called united opposition are the ones who are still trying to speak that language. But majority of Kenyans are moving away from that space. People are even shying away from having a tribal conversation as part of political formation. So then it means they're looking for something else. Since 2002, our national politics has been informed by this tribe comes, form up, pair up. That has been our politics. Who gets this tribe, put them together, go and campaign. But for the first time, I'm not seeing an active tribal mobilization. In fact, people are getting shy. People are getting... No. I'm telling you my experience.
No, I'm just asking a question.
I'm answering you.
Where do you live?
I'm answering you.
Let's know that you live in Kenya.
People are getting shy.
Just say you live in Kenya.
the united opposition, you will find they still want to do it. But I have faith. It may be naive faith, as Prof may say, but I have faith that in the coming politics, this one that we are going towards, you'll see the messaging that dismantles that tribal formation. It will be the primary consideration.
Yeah.
Still a factor, not to be ignored, but will not be the primary consideration.
Prof, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the past we have seen politicians coming to tell us, our problems, and then we decide whether we're going to vote for them. But I see a shift in that, because now come 2027, politicians will have to come to the people so that the people can tell them what exactly they need to do, so they can curate their manifestos according to what the people have said. And if that is the shift, I have a strong feeling that we might not even get it right in 2027, but we're definitely going to get it right after 2027.
You're right, absolutely right. Kenya is not the same. A bit of that happened in 2022. Some of us even didn't quite see it coming, but it happened. We are going to witness a lot more of that in 2027, 2032, and by 2037, 42, this country will be different. But for now, I'm talking about the here and the now. Because my friend says people are not organizing along tribe.
Yeah.
But if you look at the political map of this country, it is drawn using identity, tribal identity. We are talking about DCP. What do you call it? DCP is Mount Kenya. We are talking about things in Western Kenya. We
Identity
are talking about
politics.
we are talking about the Luo part of this country. We are talking about Matiangi and the Kisi. We are still talking about the same things. What I am saying, that despite that, there is potency in the Gen Z demography. So, I had said this time I don't want to work for people for free. Sit here, Muga and I, we want to be consultants. But you see the challenge. I'm so used to talking, I end up talking for free when others are being paid. So let me just lick it to you. The challenge and the trick. The challenge and the trick is to create a second demography in this country. And that is a demography that has not existed before. Because we have only had one demography, and that is tribe. We must now create a second one, which is the Gen Z demography. That is a powerful demography. If you mobilize that, now those are the people to whom the things you are saying can resonate. They can discuss and have a conversation around the economy, around why there is unemployment in this country, and how to do it, and who is best suited to do it, about foreign debt and how it has enslaved us. But you must mobilize and activate that demography.
Actually, Prof, they have already been activated. I'll tell you why. This cognitive process that I've been belaboring to talk about has a section that is referred to as accommodation. You see, for people to change the way they do things, the status quo you mentioned, there needs to be a shock.
Yes.
This unemployment thing is a shocker. Because there are so many of you, and you're talking, you realize you're all in the same position.
Yes.
And when you look forward, you can't see change coming.
Yes.
Then you have a trigger like the finance bill, and you're wondering, what on earth are these people doing? We can't even afford to live, and then they want us to pay more money. Now, then comes the protest. Now, you see, that protest is a manifestation of the change that we're speaking of, because there was a UN rapporteur for youth and other issues regarding youth who came to Kenya because of that protest. They had never seen it. It had never been witnessed anywhere. Remember, these guys went with their boom boxes to protest. And the Kenyan public resonated. They were being given water. Nobody touched anybody's shop. Nothing happened. All the nonsense that happened later, now that's infiltration. Without a shadow of a doubt, that's infiltration. People, if you were traveling on the road or if you're using the expressway, you would find people with pickups, stopping their pickups because they have bought water specifically to distribute. It means the Gen Zote conversation had taken root. People figured these fellows are on to something good here. It actually resonated. The infiltration tells you that those in power knew. They understood. And that power that they have was threatened. They knew without a shadow of a doubt
that they had lost.
That this one, if we don't handle it in a certain way, that's it. Because had it picked momentum, remember, most protests that we have are in one or two towns. Kisumu, Nairobi, Mombasa.
Sections of Nairobi.
Then it fizzles out. This one was throughout the country, my friend. Probably not in each and every county, but was there. Now, if you have an intelligence gathering apparatus and they tell you this, you will actually look and realize, wait, this thing isn't quite what we've seen before. It was unusual. Now, you don't often need to see continuity. That spark is what you ought to focus on. Because once you see that spark, believe me, the change that you're speaking of has arrived. Now it's a manifestation of it for it to be widespread. And for people to internalize in the way that it resonates with them, for it to be that, to bring about that commonality we are speaking of. The unfortunate thing about those who oppose change is that they don't understand that by opposing it, you popularize it. It's something that they don't seem to understand. It could fizzle out if you just let it be, or just manage it gently. But the violence that you saw, that is the surest way of ensuring that what happens, they now go subterranean. You won't see them in the open. They don't need to go to Kamkunji to talk. They talk every single day.
But let's say this, and this, I'm still focusing on you. You see, to sit pretty and think they are low, like you are saying, and come 2027, they'll come in full force, is a lie.
That won't happen.
That's what I'm saying. You have to engage them politically, to activate them, because they are potential force, and that potential force must be activated. You see, into an army of voters in 2027. Remember, much as the Gen Z was a scare to all of us, we have to be conscious of the fact that the other people who are threatened did not go and sleep. They did not go and sleep. They are working on that. You have seen many of these young men already working with other legacy politicians. You know, they have found a way of hitting at Gen Zs. Tribe has also not been left behind. You know, tribe and tribalism and identity politics that the city is talking about will claim a number of them. So that whereas we have 100 Luo young men, completely Gen Z in thinking and everything, you don't expect 100 of them to go to 2027 as Gen Zs with the fire and everything. 50 of them will be consumed by Luoism. You get it?
Yeah.
Another 10 will be grabbed through persuasive politics of this country. And so on and so forth. So out of 100, you may find you only have 20 or 25. An extreme minority. So what I'm talking about is how do you ensure that despite Raila, for example, being in the broad-based and fighting to have Ruto re-elected, for example. Let's work with that assumption. How do you make sure that the Gen Zs from Luo Nyanza don't buy into Raila's thinking? How do you mobilize them so that they are actually Gen Z with the Gen Z of Taita Taveta and the Vihiga where I come from, and the Gen Z of Nyeri? Okay? So that they remain the potent force they are, a force to deliver change in this country. Because there are vagaries that will go for them. I have just told you. They are first and foremost Luyas before they become Gen Z. There will be money floating around. There are all manner of persuasive tactics that will be used by legacy politicians. So what I've been saying since morning, and I must now stop, is that it's not easy, but it's doable. You must organize politically to make these people part of the movement to introduce a paradigm shift in our politics. That's what I'm saying.
How do we ensure, because that's actually a proper valid point. And we've been saying right now, are Gen Zs in Nairobi having the same thought process as Gen Zs in, say, Kericho County?
You know, I'll tell you one thing, at least as opposed to Prof.
Yeah.
Other than just being in Nairobi, I also go to across the country, meeting different people. And when I give my feedback as to these young people, one thing that is unique to them, they seems to have created a new community. Do you know you can go to TikTok and you find what is called TikTok Live that may even has 500 people in different parts of the world, and they're Kenyans. A TikTok Live can run from even 2 p.m. to 1 a.m. in the night. People doing their normal duties, but still participating in a conversation. I was actually shocked to find that kind, and there are many lives, not just one, many. They are talking, and they're talking their language, their issues. Most of us who are millennials and above may not be as integrated in that kind of a conversation. We don't even know it. Me, I'll come to a formal studio, use the Facebook or Twitter channels that we are used to. But there's an ongoing conversation with by these young people amongst themselves that we are not participating in. And I assure you, those people are speaking the same language.
Yeah.
You know, with millennials and legacy politics, ask them what is the identity of Raila Odinga. To them, they see someone who was a fighter, a champion for social justice. They remember him for his days in detention, because even his detention and his agitation was either just before they were born, or it was in their living period. They could see, they witnessed it. But you ask these Gen Zs, who is Raila? To them, his identity, they come into being when this Baba is prime minister. So you tell them a struggle, they can't relate. He was a prime minister, he is contested for elections, and after elections is accommodated in government.
Yep.
So him is a soft life guy. So you tell them, no, this man has been detained 9 years. Where? When? All they remember, all they can relate to. They don't see him as someone who has struggled. They don't feel it. And I've asked this question so many times of these young people. They can't relate. So I'll tell you this. These young people, irrespective of where they are, they've created interconnecting networks. They share content. Go to Nairobi on Sunday. Go to the CBD. You know, every day, every Sunday in this city, you'll think there's a gender revolution going on. Just the number of content creators who appear between Koinange Street all the way to Parliament Road. Sheer numbers. Go to the CBD on a Sunday afternoon. You'll find no less than 20,000 young people shooting content in the streets of Nairobi. Last time, I was in Mbita. On a Sunday, I'm finding those cameras and what are they called? Those shades.
Yes, the umbrella.
The umbrella,
lights.
yes. Umbrella lights. In Mbita, they're shooting content. There are more than 100. Where are they taking this content? And I've never seen them online. So it means they have their own community where they are speaking. We are ignoring that in our analysis of politics. As we are very clear, that is our target audience. In terms of how we are going to reach them and turn the message for them to own it, it's good city says we must give them identity. And they must have must feel the immediacy of their problem. That is now a campaign. That's what we are going to do on radio.
Yeah.
That's a campaign.
That's now politics.
That is our politics.
The city mover will be there as a consultant.
Yeah, he'll be a consultant.
On identity.
That is now a campaign. You understand? That will be the campaign. To bring them into the fold. Because what they showed us last time that we all witnessed is their impatience with legacy politics. Their rejection of legacy politics. What the challenge is?
If I was Ruto, I would just be laughing. I will defeat you people, all of you.
No. Let me tell you. Prof.
I hope he doesn't hire me.
Unfortunately for Prof.
Dead meat.
Prof. Yeah. Unfortunately for you, this Prof you are seeing here was very confident about Raila victory. He spoke like a trolley. He will speak. Katamiti. But we are here.
Speak as loudly as you spoke in court.
No. But we are here. We are here.
Here we are.
Ruto is president. Raila is not.
But Willis, does that not then point to what he's saying about our politics? And yet you're saying that these young people are the ones who we feel we are anchoring the change on. And yet, in my mind, they are untested.
No, that's the point. You see, that's the gist of my argument.
The point, actually, that the fact that they are untested.
That is the thing, that now it is our duty. The formations will now turn them. They've shown us their potential. Now
the other guys are sleeping as you go to them.
And the beauty, what I'm saying, the beauty about this is this. The beauty of it is this. They've shown you what they've rejected. And we are not saying that the other guys will just sleep. They will try to reach them. The attempt, for example, of getting Casmuel, some of these the perceived leading lights of the young people. Has it worked? It has not worked. You know, like any movement, and they're very quick at cancelling any of the people who cross over.
That impatience that they have is showing. Now, the problem with impatience, it shows you have a short attention span. So, you know what concerns me? And where Prof's narrative makes a great deal of sense. There's a leader called Kalonzo Musyoka, okay, who has been a vice president of this country. He comes from Cumberland. There's another gentleman called Professor Kivutha Kibwana, who has stood out as a politician who even has principle and has successfully managed a county, you could actually say, people who actually went to so-called benchmark. We have another governor here in Muranga called Kangata. People speak highly of even of the things he's doing, a thinker. But beyond being governor, you do not hear of such people being considered for any presidential position. The way Kenyans choose their leaders is truly not logical. There is a little logic to it. Now, I'm saying this in good faith because if that lack of logic serves the interest of your party, then you'll be very fortunate. Because there'll be a reason that they feel, not know, that is the party they ought to support and they will support it. But in terms of people of a proven track record of actually doing something you can look at and say, progressively, this is somebody who could do something greater. That doesn't seem to wash in our politics.
You know, City, what I'm struggling with, I'm telling you guys, stop analyzing politics based on past election trends. What the young people have posed to us, there's been no election since June 25th. The mistake we keep making is analyzing them using voting trends of the past. This was a reset. We've not had an election since then. Why don't we wait and see? That challenge they posed to the nation, the potency of that vote, we can only see it once it is tested now. They showed us. Just allow me to finish. It will not be. That is your wish, but it will not be.
No, it's not.
What I'm simply telling you is this. They've shown us that they can do things with so much impact than what legacy politicians have been able to do. And I started by saying, we witnessed demonstrations in this country in numbers, in impact, that have never been witnessed before in the history of the earth. When they were being organized by legacy politicians, these people delivered. They delivered far much better than the legacy politicians. They shook that system of legacy politics. Why don't you have the patience to allow them an opportunity to appear at the ballot and show you if they meant business or they are still the same the way they were?
Okay.
Because otherwise,
that is
no. It's okay. You can
fatal.
dismiss. No.
Fatal.
It can dismiss. You can dismiss them.
I'm saying it's fatal. If you really want, just a moment. If you really want change for this country, it will be fatal to wait and to remain and to wait and see. And I'm telling you, the most likely outcome of that waiting will be that Ruto will be sworn in for a second term.
But I'm telling you, Professor, when I say you wait and see, I don't mean
do nothing.
Do nothing.
But Prof,
things will be done.
As it is right now,
yes.
The president doesn't have favor amongst a large part of the population.
True.
Yeah?
100% true.
Isn't that indication enough that surely something is bound to happen in 2027?
It's not enough to make Ruto lose in 2027.
It is.
There is enough anger in the country.
Enough?
There is enough anger in the country. One term is real. It is spread across the country, but that's not how politics works. You have to translate that anger into sufficient votes to remove Ruto from power. It's not enough that people are saying one term.
Have you heard of
that can remove Ruto from power?
The term of wave in our politics.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You have to turn this one term thing into a really rainbow movement and wave of 2002. At that point, all that will be required is a single presidential candidate. And that person will beat Ruto. If you think people are saying one term Ruto will go, I have very bad news.
I feel like, Professor, we're actually heading there.
Yes. If we head there,
let me respond this thing of a single opposition candidate. You see, again, we are not internalizing where we are. In 2002, it was important to have a single opposition candidate because the system that we had then was a simple majority. Moi will win as president with 33% of the votes. The opposition combined will get 67%. The laws then provided for only a simple majority.
Yep.
We are now operating in a different setup. It is 50% plus one. William Ruto is not competing to be the simple majority winner. He is competing to get 50% plus one of Kenyans voting for him. His competition is to get 9 million votes minimum. 9 million votes. So irrespective of what the competition is doing, he must come to the room with 9 million votes. So his task is to go and find 9 million votes. I assure you, it will be a miracle for William Ruto to get even 4 million votes. In the last election, he had 7.1 million votes. He has lost almost, at conservative estimates, 4.3 million of those votes. You're asking him to go and make it 9. Irrespective of what even the opposition can just sit quiet. If you need to tell him to run on his own, his duty will be to get 50% plus 9 million votes.
He could get 10.
He cannot.
He can get 10.
You see, so I want to explain this. It is even in the nation's interest, if you ask me, for this particular election, to have multiple candidates as opposed to a single opposition. It is in the interest, because then you are able to mop up people to vote for these formations, and the more they are voting, even for their own formations, the more they are taking away from William Ruto. Yeah. Matiang'i running, for example, if you were to use legacy politics as a barometer, the primary loser there becomes William Ruto and Raila Odinga immediately. Why is that the problem of the young people? If you use legacy politics barometers, assuming we're doing tribal politics that they're saying, Gachagua running, the number one loser there becomes William Ruto. So the person in problem, who in terms of the path to power, his path to power keeps narrowing every day, is William Ruto.
Never.
He is narrowing every single day and is losing opportunities.
Please hire me.
But I conclude by saying this.
If you don't hire me, you are
no. It's not about hiring anybody.
City,
the fact that the young people didn't hire you and they delivered a successful revolution, then those services may not be needed. But let me in this political context.
But Willis, what you say may be true now. We're now discussing politics. Between now and the end of the year, my friend, is a very long time.
Extremely long time in politics.
Okay. When I say that they're an unproven lot, the Gen Zs, it is not to underestimate their ability, but I am served by history. 8 million people did not vote in the last election, registered voters. The majority were young people. This thing which has changed, because there are more people who've entered that bracket of voting. This thing which has changed, which will now galvanize them to do what they didn't do in 2022. What exactly is it? Because these are people with a short attention span.
Let me also, before then you take the two.
Okay.
You say his options are narrowing. His votes are reducing by the day. Let's reduce that to the numbers and the constituencies. Ruto has lost Mount Kenya. It's the biggest loss he has.
What percentage of his vote? Contribution?
It was 47% of his
53.
It was 47% of his
53% of his votes.
Whichever it was. I know 47, you know 53 is not quite a big difference. We are there. A big chunk, almost half. Let's use the word half. He has lost Mount Kenya votes. He will need to replace that. The next threat to William Ruto is the Gen Z vote. So let's address each of those. Number one, the Mount Kenya votes. He will need to get a constituency that will wipe out the Mount Kenya loss. That he will not get from Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga will be a bonus in terms of Luo and other people. And I've been saying this thing. There's a potentially dangerous constituency that will help Ruto deal with the Mount Kenya loss. And that is a Muslim vote. It's a dangerous constituency. All he may need to do is to get a running mate from there. And you people are done.
What you mean is the northeastern vote?
Pardon?
You
mean
Muslim is much larger than
includes northeastern and the larger Muslim community. Let me finish.
Okay, sorry, I thought you had finished.
Mine is to open your eyes, even if you don't pay me. So that one, once you get the Muslim vote with a promise for future, you have wiped out the loss of Mount Kenya. Then Raila just is the icing on the cake. Now let's deal with the Gen Z. How will Ruto deal with Gen Z? Is to mobilize Gen Z. He will direct his resources at Gen Z. that constituency to create apathy, to have the Mwaka Samuels, and all manner of, to make sure the potency of that constituency is not as lethal as it will be, and to hamper the mobilization targeting them. Because mobilization is very important. They are self-mobilizing, but the moment you get into voting, people can meet to demonstrate about the finance bill and other things. But the moment something is now at stake, like the presidency, you don't expect 100 of them to remain the 100 they were. Some retreat into tribe. Where is my tribe voting? This is not far-fetched. It's real. And the infiltration of that group reduces the power, the potency, and the numbers. So that's what Ruto will be going at.
Okay.
If he gets very serious people like City Muga. Hey! Whoa. So this morning, I've helped the opposition know why.
At this rate,
they have now known why it's not easy.
Someone would think I've engaged the prof to campaign for me. Willis, is something you wanted to say?
What I want to say is this.
Yes.
You know, at the end of the day, look at it this way, Prof. William Ruto will try. When you say that he uses the Muslim vote, in fact, that is a double-edged sword. Number one, that Muslim vote that you're trying to create, it cuts beyond, goes even into tribes. They are Luo Muslims. Yeah, they are Gen Z Muslims who rejected Ruto. That doesn't mean that because it's now chosen. You see, again, legacy politics. That people, you want to perpetuate that people will vote for somebody because we identify with him based on religion or on tribe. And that is what I'm saying, that the young people are rejecting. They are creating their own new identity.
There's a new tribe.
There's a new tribe they are creating. How its political potency, we will answer that question on voting day. But also just imagine, in fact, I wish William Ruto does what Prof is advising him to do. Because then he'll be trying to create an identity, a religious identity as the basis of the campaign. You know, there's a response to every action. There must be a reaction.
There is, Willis, but waiting for the
vote to come in this. It has helped Raila in the past.
I'm telling you, but
you are once a campaign manager of Raila.
I have. You know, I never want to discuss I never like discussing my former boss. Yeah. I never like discussing my former boss.
It is a wise position to have.
Yes, I don't discuss my former boss because he gave me an opportunity to also learn these things. And I'm just building on what I learned.
But you learned that the Muslim really supported him.
They supported him. That's a fact. That's a fact. But I also understand how William Ruto because by the time you say William Ruto is trying to now create a Muslim voting bloc, it tells you how his options are narrowing.
Yeah.
No,
that is not. No, it is not. No, they are narrowing.
They're expanding.
He had a working. You know, if the machine was working, that now you are trying to change the spanners to come with something new that has not been tested. It tells you you're running out of options, and even that one will fail. But I conclude by saying this.
Yes.
Safina Party is 30 years old. It's 30 years of economic liberation.
Okay.
And as we believe, we are fighting for the economic liberation of this nation.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you so much. We've come to the end of the show. Professor Herman Manyora, thank you so much for being such a sport and being here. Wakili Willis Otieno, asante tena sana for coming through. City, si tuonane kesho asubuhi bright and early. This is where we live in the safe hands, yes, of the playlist. Do stand by because there's one Rania and her sidekick, or is it his? No, wait. It's actually Branodor and the sidekick who are coming up next. So don't go too far. They'll be right here with you after a short break of that music. But for us, we're going to be seeing you tomorrow bright and early at exactly 6 in the a.m.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Over 600 doctors will finally have their postgraduate fees cleared after the Ministry of Health approved payments for arrears dating back to 2018. This is according to the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, KMPDU Secretary General Davji Atela,